call, please.
Mr. Cerrone?
Here.
Mr. Gatewood?
Present.
Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Dr. Maria?
Present.
Mr. Ploger?
Present.
Ms. Simulton?
Present.
Ms. Bendis?
Present.
Please.
Our student ambassador, Luke?
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I am thrilled tonight to engage in our fall and winter athletic recognition. I'm going to invite Teresa Comitas to read out some of the exciting acknowledgments, but I do want to say that I'm so proud to be part of this community where our student athletes put their heart and soul into the excellence of what it means to be on a team, and in that recognition, we'll now turn to Teresa.
We're going to invite all of you to join us in the middle.
Okay?
Okay, good evening. The Board of Education is proud to acknowledge the award-winning efforts of our students who have received state and/or national recognition for their school-related and athletic-related activities. Tonight, we're going to recognize our 23-24 Oswego Girls Co-op Swim and Dive team for their accomplishment of having achieved IHSA's combined state championship at this year's IHSA State Swim and Dive Meet. This evening, any students and coaches here this evening, as you're called, please come forward to be congratulated by the Board of Education and our Superintendent, Dr. Calgatti. We'll ask that you hold applause until all students have been recognized. Yes, we'll invite everyone. Chloe Diner, Maya Fenninger, Addie Miller, Madeline Liska, Molly Gonzalez, Katie Gressick, Katie Malm, and this evening with us, we have Lauren Zadorsky from Oswego East. She placed 5th in the 500 free and 11th in the 200 free relay. And also here with us this evening, swim and dive coach, Mr. Bob Sprunger. And also coaching this year was Mr. Ryan Pentzine and Ariana Trakis. And we will also invite forward our OAE principal, Mrs. Laura Bankowski. I don't believe Mr. Grays, if he's here this evening. Oh, he's back there. Come on, Chris Grays, come on forward. And we're also joined this evening with our athletic directors, Tony and Darren. Tony and Darren, you come up too. Congratulations, everyone. We're going to take a group photo. Congratulations.
Okay, now we'll move to 5.1, public comment. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank the public for attending tonight's meeting. We value the feedback we receive from our residents and encourage everyone to take an active interest in their public school system. Residents interested in speaking to the Board of Education this evening are asked to have completed a comment card and presented it to the secretary to the board. When the secretary calls your name, I ask that you come to the microphone, state your name for the public record, and provide your feedback. In order to hear from as many as possible, comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments should address the Board of Education as a whole and not be directed to an individual board member, audience, or staff member. The board does not participate in discussion during public comment. Follow-up to your questions or concerns should be addressed by administration through the contact information provided on the comment card. Thank you.
John McClure.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean McClure, and I've been a resident here in Oswego for about 23 years. And the reason I'm here tonight is to hopefully get your guys' support on expanding the sporting programs here in Oswego. My son is a 14-year-old getting ready to come to Oswego High School, and he plays lacrosse. He started the sport when he was in kindergarten, and myself and another father volunteered to help coach, never playing lacrosse. And over the years, I got to know a lot about the sport. It's a really exciting and upcoming sport here in North America. It's an Olympic sport now. And I think that as we look at our community, there's a lot of sporting opportunities, but there's also a lot of room for expansion and growth from a sporting event standpoint. So I would ask that the board please consider looking at lacrosse for the next season, because he will be going into high school, and I would love nothing more than to wish or get him his wish and dream, which is play high school lacrosse. Because unfortunately, if we can't play lacrosse in Oswego, we do have to look at maybe going outside the district. And I would love nothing more than to get my son in that inaugural program. And then I have a 10-year-old that will follow in his footsteps. And the Park District, I think, also is a good venue to help bring knowledge and interest in the sport for the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Christopher Kennedy.
I brought my wife to make sure she watches the clock for me. Well, good evening. My name is Christopher Kennedy. We're new residents to the Oswego SD308 school district. We're really excited. We moved from Carolina a few years ago. We've got 4 children, 3 in the district now, 1 threatening to come in here in about a year and a half. So we're very excited. First part of my sentiments are to tell you all thank you from the new resident perspective. Tremendous experience at Prairie Point and at Trauber. Actually, I think every event I've gone to, I've sought out at least an administrator to tell them how impressed I've been. So it means a lot to us to move and take that risk to leave Carolina, where they're really well-known schools. And so that was a question mark when we came in, and so we're very proud to be here. But the other thing I really wanted to highlight is my career, being in the healthcare biotech industry, has a lot of similarities to education. Now, it might not seem like that when we first think about it, but we're all patients. Like everyone in here with our shoes on, we came in as patients. You'll unfortunately probably leave as a patient, and we were all students. And most of the time what you remember, unfortunately, in healthcare is bad experiences. And even sometimes in education, it's an experience that held you back. And I can recall a few different experiences myself. And then there were the beautiful ones as well. And so I kind of framed the discussion tonight around team, and it was awesome to see these champions that just got their photo taken. Because I came here with my wife to invest in the community and to be a part of it and to recognize that we're all on that team. Now, on a lot of teams, you join and you say, I want to be on that team. And sometimes when you move to an area, you forget, hey, we are all on this team. And so I think it behooves us all to take the approach that I want to do something. I want to be a part of it. I talked to a gentleman from the healthcare side who started an organization in 1987 when his son passed away. And on his way out, he was a young infant and he had primary immune deficiency. And his quote was, "Can you do something for me?" His wife just passed away after 30 years, and they did something. They brought cures to people all across the world. And I talked to him tonight to kind of give me the energy to land on my last minute here. We're talking about lacrosse here. You'll see some of the lacrosse booster club, but we're not really talking about lacrosse. We're talking about a new opportunity and a case study of effort that you'll see on the little handouts that we sent around of the effort you can do when we engage private relationships and all of the stakeholders that haven't had a knock on their door in a long time. You'll see some logos on there. But I do want to pull everything together and just say this. There's always meetings like this. I serve on a number of boards. But behind closed doors and those late night calls, those are the ones that oftentimes don't get recognized for when things get done. So I commend all of you for the work you're going to do after this meeting. And I do ask that you lean on us, not just for lacrosse. Still got 18 seconds. But for any other activity, because this lacrosse case study translates into the drama club, the international studies program. And I think together, with the energy that Dr. Kelgati and his tremendous staff that I've had the pleasure of meeting, and Darren and team, together we really can do something remarkable here and put Oswego on the map as a leader.
Hey,
All right.
hey,
Wow.
that's a first.
I know.
Katie Hayden.
I'm going to sit because I'd like to be on the same level as you all. So thank you for having me here. I wanted to bring up some concerns that I've noticed over the last 4 years. You might have known us for our trades booth that continues to serve Kendall and Kane County, advocating for the trowel trades and for our visual kinesthetic learners who are helping build and restore your communities. But the biggest concern that I've been hearing from students when we were visiting OEHS earlier in 2023 was that our building trades classes, they have to get bused to OHS. And if their schedules do not line up, they are not able to take some of those classes. And I'm concerned because then I'm worrying that we're underserving some of our students who could be earning prevailing wages in that industry who are not getting the experience and the education that they need. And also as a parent of 4 children in the Oswego School District, and of course being a trades family, we push the construction industry as well. Our son's CAD class is not going to happen next year. There were not enough students to sign up to make the next level advance. And so I'm constantly concerned. We're marketing colleges, we're marketing universities, community colleges. Where are my union hall banners in the high schools? Where's the pipe fitters? Where's the local 21? Where's the electrical union? Where's the carpentry union? If we want kids to get engaged in the construction industry, which has a huge decline, it starts at home with the parents and it starts in our schools. They're not going to know that these opportunities exist if you guys don't market it. And if we're not marketing these electives and these classes, students are not going to sign up because there's no engagement for it. Lastly, what I wanted to bring up was a resolution. I would love to bring up a resolution for you. We have wonderful men and women who are serving District 308 within building operations. Imagine if you could take your deferred maintenance cost, which obviously is a huge cost when it comes between state, federal, and local taxes, right? Imagine creating a curriculum and a syllabus with a teacher and an instructor where we could teach kids to tuck point our buildings, wash our buildings, caulk them, restore them, learn a little bit about PVC work. All these things are possible, and we could decrease our liabilities with insurance because we're having it on the premise at our school, and we would be creating opportunities on school grounds. For me, as a parent and as a business owner, I would see it as a win-win because you could then reduce your deferred maintenance costs by possibly 25 to 30%, maybe even 40 if you're really creative. But I hope that we can continue the conversation to create new opportunities for our students within District 308.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg Kaufman.
Hello.
Hi.
All right. Hi, board. My name is Craig Kaufman, Oswego resident for the past 7 years, I believe, 7 or 8 years. Moved into town, and I'm a part of the lacrosse, I guess, booster club, if you'll call us that. So I just had a couple quick things. Similar to what Sean said at the beginning, my son began playing at a very young age, thanks to what I'll call some lacrosse evangelists, right? Other parents that were able to share their love for the sport and pass on the game that is pretty much a mystery to a lot of families. And I think there's a lot of good things about it that we're very grateful. My son had found his passion, but more than that, it's just a sport that I feel like is a kind of a hidden gem. And to be able to be one of the schools inside of the state of Illinois that offers that through the high school, I think would be a huge perk, as well as beginning to start kids at a younger age and to create some sort of like a feeder program. It's a very family-friendly, inclusive sport that no matter your athletic ability, I think there's all shapes and sizes. There's male, female can all play it. So I wanted to talk to that. And just the fact that it's very parent driven. So to my second point, I know that the funding is kind of a big deal. Chris had handed out the sheet to you guys. There had been already discussions about how much funding is needed to start the program, and I just wanted to speak to that as well. I think that the numbers that were initially discussed are a little bit high. There's some grants available through USA Lacrosse that will help offset some of the costs, as well as again, giving Chris kudos. He's already started fundraising efforts, and I think you'll see that that is very indicative of the parents that are involved and the families involved. They're super passionate about it, and they're continue to contribute and find local businesses to contribute, to kind of go with that sort of team attitude where it's not something that's going to fall on the district to fully fund the program. And then the last piece was the same thing as like for my son coming into the 308 district at the high school level. He played basketball in the junior high. This is a sport that he is very passionate about. If the only option for us until this discussion had been put on the table was to look outside the district at like a private high school. And so up until this discussion, that has been where we looked at Bennett Academy or Wheaton Academy, some of these other schools that offer lacrosse. So to be able to have it in our own backyard, it's a huge blessing. So we'd really just encourage you guys to consider moving forward with it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Traeger.
Hi, Michelle Traeger, 4 kids in the district. I want to talk about every single thing on the agenda tonight. As you discuss adding more sports, please realize that this is the second year that Plank Junior High has not had any theater productions while the other 4 junior highs have. Can you imagine if this were the second year that Plank didn't have any sports while the other 4 junior highs did? So I want to thank Chris for also mentioning those other things. There may be something in the works now with the Oswego Park District Theater Community Company through their generosity, and that's because, same here, the parents are the ones who spearheaded that, but we could really use some district support. You're going to be talking about facilities tonight. Boulder Hill, please. Broken playground equipment, broken air conditioning. Last week it was a foul smell in the gym, and for months there have been ants, some of which are reported to fly. You're going to hear an EL report. We have momentum in the dual language program. One concern is that an assistant superintendent who's been helping to drive that is retiring, and we want our EL director to have that continued support from DAC, especially as we expand the elementary, but because just now we're getting into how to improve the junior high. Everything we've done so far this year for junior high has just been to bring us up to the bare minimum. We're not even into the improvement of that program yet. You're also going to hear about recruitment and retention tonight. It was really cool to read that. I'm excited to hear that presentation tonight. It looks good reading through it. But please don't forget the resource of parents, especially in our DL community, some of whom had professions in their countries of origin, and they may not need that much training to become bilingual TAs or even teachers. To take it back to the junior high, we haven't filled the position of EL coordinator there. I think we have a couple teachers who are qualified for that, so are we doing everything possible to make that position attractive to our own staff? And then lastly, I know last meeting there was a special ed report. Part of that report was talking about how in the really young grades and kindergartens we're seeing some frequent and extreme behaviors. And I know there was some talk about, oh, that's because those kids didn't have socialization during the pandemic, but I want to look at that logically. That made sense for our kindergartners 2 years ago when my daughter was in kindergarten, because as 3s and 4s in preschool, they were home. So they didn't know how to take turns, wait in line, follow routines. That's the socialization. But when we're seeing students being physically aggressive to their classmates, to their teachers, ripping up the classroom, that's more than socialization. And when 1 and 2-year-olds are socializing, they're mostly at home unless they're at daycare. So they are socializing with their families anyway. Their families, though, during the pandemic, it's been shown many parents have been going through depression and anxiety, and it hasn't gone away. And I think that's where we need to look at when we're trying to help these kids with their behaviors. And as you know, of course, one of the board members said, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with the pandemic. And you know I'm always talking about how alcohol consumption increased during the pandemic and that half of our pregnancies are unplanned. So we're just now going to see those students start to come into our early childhood programs. So I covered a lot, and I hope you'll consider it all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Julian.
Hi, I'm David Julian, Oswego resident. Been here for 8 years, going on 9. I have 2 kids. Now, I'm going to preface this by the other dad coach that Sean said he met when his kid was 6 and the other guy's kid was 5, that was me. Craig Kaufman talked about his kid starting when he was little at the club. The other dad on the sideline next to him, that was me. I want to talk a little bit about lacrosse. I'm not going to tell you anything that you haven't heard already. What I want to speak to is the opportunity to build a team and build a culture in the high schools. Now, I mentioned I have 2 kids. My son is in 7th grade at Trauber. My daughter's in 6th grade at Trauber. I have no horse in this race as of today. I'm looking further down the road for it to be an opportunity for my kids to continue what they feel is their dream. My son's dream is to go away and play at Notre Dame or Duke or Virginia or Maryland or North Carolina. Those are the blue bloods of college lacrosse. My take is, hey, why don't you go to Lewis, right? It's right here, great school, great education. Ultimately, it's going to be his choice. My job as his father is to help facilitate what he wants to do.
And Peyton's.
Well, yes, absolutely. Put a lot of miles on the car. Now, as I mentioned, I'm in a bit of a unique position because I'm able to take what happens here, whether there's a lacrosse program or not a lacrosse program, and make our own decisions as a family as to whether or not my kids are going to go to school in the district or we have to seek things elsewhere. For my daughter, who is also a cheerleader, Oswego High School makes perfect sense. However, she can't continue to play lacrosse. My son only wants to play lacrosse. Played hockey, played football, wants to play lacrosse. Plays at the very highest level nationally in the country right now as a 7th grader in the state of Illinois. And I will say this on record. Craig Kaufman has an 8th grade boy in Illinois who's probably one of the best lacrosse players in the state of Illinois for his age. My son, at his position, is the best player in the state of Illinois. We have some really great athletes and students, right? 4.0s and students that are coming out of Illinois. Craig and I, a year ago, had the opportunity for our sons to represent the U.S. on a team for the indoor national championships. They played for the East Coast version of Team USA. Not only did our Illinois student athletes stand out, but they excelled with kids who were born with lacrosse sticks in their hands. The opportunity here is to help to build a team, unify 2 schools together, and build a culture based on building great young men and women in our community. I hope you will consider it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this evening, I'm thrilled to welcome, we've got members of our team. I'm going to invite Ms. Faith Dahlquist to open up on this presentation around some of the most important work happening in our district around our English language learners.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
evening,
yeah.
Renee Sartor, Director of English Learners. Great
Hi.
to see you tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking about multilingual learner programs for the coming year. Our presentation, we're going to provide updates to some of the enhancements that we're making in our programs. But I wanted to start first by publicly thanking a couple of people who have really helped through this process. But as you'll see, the feedback and input of many partners has helped with this. But I would like to thank first Erin Gleason, who is our language acquisition instructional coach, pre-K-8. Without her insight on everything EL and her deep historical knowledge of the programs in our district, this wouldn't have been possible. Also, I want to thank another thought partner who has helped me through this, Faith Dahlquist right here. So her experience of both global and detailed work in a district-wide system has been invaluable. So I want to thank them both. Okay. So, can you do that? Okay. So the guiding principles that have guided our programs has been first to promote inclusion and equity within our continuum of services that we offer for our multilingual students. We also want to foster bilingualism, biliteracy, multiculturalism through programs such as dual language and the Seal of Biliteracy. And we also want to actively involve parents and the community in their students' education. I'm going to start by talking just briefly about the different types of programs we have. Early childhood has different offerings, both bilingual and English for students. Every school in the district has English as a second language ESL resource. That's where a teacher will push in or pull out small groups of students, usually to help them with their language proficiency. The next highest level is sheltered English instruction. This is where students who are English learners are in a self-contained classroom with a teacher who has her certification in English language learners. And they study all together. It's all in English, but they learn all of their core subject areas with that lens of the increased in language proficiency. And then lastly, we have our dual language program. This program helps to build students' bilingualism. The classroom is made up of both students of Spanish heritage language and also students of that come from just monolingual English families. And both groups of students are in the classrooms together learning Spanish and English up through their 8th grade. This slide just shows what happens at the secondary level. Dual language continues at the junior high at Plank. Sheltered English continues at junior high in Murphy. And then the high schools both offer a mix of sheltered and co-taught classes for our English learners. In our district, we have over 75 languages that are spoken here. The number keeps expanding and differentiating every year. As you can see, though, Spanish is by far the largest group of languages that we have here. And that's what allows us to offer dual language in Spanish because of the number of Spanish speakers we have in the district. This graph shows that over the last 5 years, the population of English learner students has grown about 800 students in the last 5 years. So that we now make up about 13% of our district. If we look at how many students that are still in our district were formerly English learner students and that have since exited based on the exiting criteria, we're looking at 22% of the students in our district.
As you can see, we are just growing and growing. So we really needed to look at space concerns, and we knew this last year. So we got together a group of administrators. We had transportation there. We had finance. We had special education. All of these to address this need that we knew was coming for space concerns. So some of the things that we really wanted to look at is we wanted to minimize the impact of moving students. If they've already started at a school, we wanted to prioritize keeping them at that school. We also wanted to maximize, if we could, student attendance at their home school so that they're also going to school with their neighbors and the people that they see out on the playground. And then we also wanted to make sure that we could have enough room that we weren't just making a solution that would be good for 1 or 2 years. So we looked at all kinds of things, demographer reports, we looked at bus routes, we looked at languages. If you went to my office right now, you'd still see this great big map with all this information. And we had many, many people and many eyes. And what we determined is that there is a great increase of new English learners around Grand Park and the Wheatlands, and we see that trend continuing, while it's diminishing around Old Post. We also know that we had dual language space concerns, that there's not enough space to keep going as is at Boulder Hill. So we wanted to get together and we made many solutions, talked through many different groups. I'm going to turn it back to Renee to talk about SEI.
So where we focused our efforts were where we saw the largest increase in English language learners, which we saw at the area of the Wheatlands and Grand Park. Year after year, the student numbers kept growing there. So in 24-25, so next school year, we're looking at having kindergartners and first graders who would qualify for the sheltered English instruction program go to Grand Park or the Wheatland based on their what their home school is. And we're thinking of having two sections at each school, a kindergarten and a first grade. The reason we're starting with a kindergarten and first grade is we would prefer to have not just one single teacher there as the sole teacher of sheltered English. That way they could have someone with whom to collaborate. What we have now is there are 8 current students that are in Old Post, our current sheltered English site. Those students, we're offering for them to go to one of the 2 sites depending on their homeschool location. This here is an outline that shows the feeder patterns for the students from the various schools where they would be attending.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did with dual language. Dual language is a really exciting program here. We were one of the first districts to offer this, and we want to continue with that. And when we looked at all of the different options, where we went was starting a 3rd dual language site. And we'll start it just with the younger students first, and then be able to grow that. So when you look at the new feeder patterns, that was where the old schools, what schools attended if they were interested in dual language. And then on the right, you see the new pattern. This is another chart that just shows the same thing, unless you like charts.
So in November, we had our first English Learner Forum. So here we invited parents to come and discuss at tables what they felt were opportunities, challenges, good points about our different programs. We took a lot of feedback from that meeting. From that meeting, we also garnered interest for having a district dual language committee. So this committee has been meeting monthly since January. In this school, in this district, we've been addressing different issues that the parents have brought forth, and not just the parents, but all the committee members, which is addressing the transition from elementary to junior high, identifying future topics such as gifted education within the dual language program, professional development, and assessment of students. And in this committee, we've had representation from dual language teachers of every school, dual language administrators of elementary and junior high. We've also had members of the Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. We've had parents of both English learners in the dual language program and students who were not English learners in the program. And we've also had instructional coaches in the schools where dual language is on this committee. From this committee, I was able to garner some testimonials from some of the members, and I really like, I like the last one actually the most, which says, for my students, for my own children, it has built a sense of belonging. Para mis propios hijos ha creado un sentido de pertenencia. I think this is the foundation of dual language and why it's so important to keep this as a program here and help it grow and help our families feel part of the community. Now, our continuing work in this will be we are in the process of informing the kindergarten students about the various programs and the changes that are happening. We've been doing this through our kindergarten registration, and then we'll be emailing specific parents at the schools that are, most affected by the changes. We're collaborating with other departments around the professional development plan for staff and administrators. We've been meeting with the Dual Language Committee. We're working with supporting our Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee, and we're going to continue to analyze our access scores and other data points to evaluate how our progress is going.
Just one more thing that we had talked about at the Dual Language Committee is the importance as we create a third site to have continuity between the different teams. One of the great things that is now a part of our new contract is time for teacher teams to get together, and this can be across different schools. It'll be really important as we expand that we have kindergarten teachers of dual language from the 3 different schools get together and be able to coordinate and talk with that. And then also next year, we will have the opportunity to have full day school improvement days, so there will be time to travel, get together, and see people face to face as well.
And I'd also like to add that in preparing these new school sites, we're already in the works for, let's say, for Wolf's Crossing, where there's dual language. We're going to be offering what is an effective dual language program to all of their school staff. And when I say school staff, we're talking about all of the staff, office staff, nurses, teaching staff, TAs, special education teachers that are there. Also, what is dual language and how does your role support this? To lunch and recess staff and custodians. We want the whole school to embrace and understand the program that they'll be getting. Also, how to make a welcoming school for students and families. And then we want to offer site visits for the admin and teachers of that program to visit the sites where it currently is housed. We also have already had the administrators participate in webinars on dual language. So they're already starting that process and garnering what questions they might have to help us further along their understanding of the program. Likewise, for the sheltered English program, we're going to be talking to the staff, admin, office staff, teaching staff. What is an effective SEI program? SEI sheltered English. How does your role support the sheltered English program? How do you welcome students and families into your school when you have this program, and also offering to them to go visit the current site of sheltered English to see for themselves? So those are a lot of the things that we have in the plan while working towards this process. So, do you have any additional questions or?
Well, I appreciate the work that's been done. We definitely had to make some facilities changes and make some improvements, and I'm appreciative of all the thought there. Just a quick testimonial. My kids went through dual language. They're basically straight A students. It just second language acquisition just helps your mind develop. There's more connections there. So if you have an incoming kindergartner, please consider the dual language program. I wish I could speak Spanish, but if you're a Spanish-speaking family and your student is coming into the district, please, it's a default program. Please accept that, and your students will be better off. I wanted to go to slide 7. Basically, it just gives the numbers, and this is so one of the things that I've said is. So 22% of our students are either currently considered English learners. Basically, once they pass a test, they're no longer English learners. So it's hard to analyze, and you have to be very diligent in analyzing how their longitudinal performance is. But when 22% of your district is English learners, how our English learners perform is critical.
Very significant. Yep.
So we have to make sure that we're, it has to be a priority. Mm-hmm. So I, again, thank you. I just wanted the community to kind of see 1 out of 5 children, and it's growing. I think that one of the this was So that 13% number, I think that you had mentioned that it was 25% for kindergarten this year?
That was school year 23-24, the entering kindergarten class of nearly 1,000 students, 25% of them were English learners.
So that's, if it's 25% again next year, so that 13% is, this is a huge number. And it's going to just continue to grow. So.
I had a couple questions, but you all answered them in your presentation, so thank you so much for that. So I'm just going to offer an encouragement in regards to the collaboration piece. You know, when you have programs that are kind of spread out between schools and stuff, it's harder to connect with another second grade teacher that's doing the same thing, or a fourth grade teacher. And I know that we have some plans for that, it sounds like. I think I would be supportive of even more planning around collaboration for our dual language teachers, considering, you know, some of the stuff you want to, that's on your list, your to-do list, that would, you know, to even go beyond kind of what is in the contract or maybe even the things you're currently planning. And I know that we have, or we will soon have, an adopted ELA curriculum, and so I'm hoping that that will also be time for them to, you know, collaborate on some of those pieces as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to make sure Jared had a chance too. You want to go ahead? Yeah.
I just, first of all, want to say I fully 100% support this program. I do want to, however, be cautious and really, sometimes we have to go slow to go fast. The increase is fantastic. We know we need it. We know, to Dominic's point, it increases cognitive dexterity, problem-solving skills, brain density. Having a second language also is being shown to help ward off Alzheimer's. So we know this is critically important, right? We really need to work and be better at an authentic, immersive instructional experience. I think that we have obviously had a lot of challenges this year and in the last couple of years. What I really would love to see is some of these check-ins for the board. So, you know, what support can we give? How can we help? And then I want to just talk about the question that I get from a lot of parents. I completely regret not putting my son in this because we live in Hunt Club. But one of the questions you hear a lot is, what if my kid can't keep up? What if my student can't keep up? I know that's a lot of times the question that parents bring to me, and I'm probably not the best at answering that. But can you, from your perspective, kind of, I think there's a variety of avenues here, but it is scary going into it, and you know, is this going to hold my student back? Is this going to hurt them? It is going to be tough at the beginning, but can you just talk a little bit about that, those first steps, and how we support families and students? I'm sorry, I'm really focused on the DL part of this, sorry. So that parents that are out there making those decisions literally right now feel comfortable taking that step.
So sure, so when incoming kindergarten parents are considering this, we hold meetings that we tell them they have to attend or, you know, watch a presentation so that they understand that, yes, at the beginning, if you don't speak Spanish at home, it's part of a natural process that your child will be challenged. So a lot of, you know, students can show fatigue, things like that. But once they work through that, they will, you know, they will just blossom. Now, also, it takes several years to acquire high levels of language acquisition. So while young students, they say are sponges, actually they are very well equipped to learn accents and how to talk and to understand and glean meaning from actions. Just like a little baby, when they're born, you don't give them a dictionary to teach them how to speak your native language. It's through, you know, actions and visuals and working things out together and discussions and a lot of language. So it's similar to learning your first language, how a student would learn a second language. And the teachers in the classroom, they're trained in, you know, providing that type of instruction. Let's see, what other question did you have?
That was really
okay.
It. You answered it very well. And I think there also is, I think you fail if you don't try. It is okay to say this program doesn't work for us, and we have had students go back into their, general ed classrooms, and that's okay too, but if that's your fear, at least try, and take that leap. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so some of the challenges that we've heard about are in regards to quality staffing or staffing in general, and now we're going to an expansion. And so I just want to know, how are we handling those challenges?
Dr. Zwebke, do you want to?
Yeah, yes. That just lends itself to our next presentation, of which I've been working together with the human resources staff on how to bridge that and to build up our staff capacity in that respect. So I'm excited. If you just hold on, you'll hear from them.
Okay.
We have some great mentors for our EL programs, that's for sure. So, anyhow, go ahead.
Jared, would you like to ask any questions?
Yeah, just real quick. You can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure the historical piece, to back up what Dom said. Back in 2015 when I first ran for the board, I think our population was about half what it was, and the argument was about whether this was going to increase. And so, it's ironic, just this weekend, a parent sent me a message just to kind of remind me of where we were at this point almost 10 years ago compared to now. And the timing, it was not lost on me, the irony. But as you know, I'm always kind of on long-term, big picture, and I know this might go into the next presentation, which is fine, but I am curious, at the point that we have 3 elementary sites, at what point do we need to start having a conversation about middle school and what that looks like? Yes, I know I said middle school. What that looks like and what our needs are going to mean from the facility piece. I'm not expecting like an answer right this second, but it's something that I want in our mind, because while we may be fine now, when if once Wolf Crossing, those kindergartners are 5th graders, I'm curious about what that conversation is going to look like.
Do you want to come back to that, or Faith, do you want to?
Sure. So we did look at projections, and obviously the younger students, kindergarten and 1st grade, is where we see that really growth. So eventually that may need to be looked at, but for right now, even the next few years, we don't see needing expanding to a different junior high site or expanding it past that. We will keep looking at that, but right now that's not an immediate in the next 2-3 years.
I'd love to see EC DL. Since we're kind of going the vertical line here, so.
I just want to thank your team. I know that it's been a lot of pivoting this year and starting to really pay attention to just what the voices are in the community and really increasing that engagement significantly. And so I just want to say that is not always easy, and especially when we have such care and commitment to these programs. Your efforts have been recognized for really taking it in and being willing to listen, to hear, to change, to grow, and those aren't always easy. So I just want to thank you for your courage and perseverance. Thank you.
If I could say one more thing, I just looked at my notes. Can we please put some data and financial analysis around our district program versus how many languages and kind of DL, in the general public? Can we look at our access data and start to, we've kind of asked for this in the past, and I think it would be very helpful. I think sometimes people question the success of the program, and then, some of it leads to a seal of biliteracy and so forth. So if we could start to connect those dots, I think that would be very, very helpful.
That's a very good point, John.
Just because we talked, just because that came up, this is, again, where that former EL, and this is, looking at the longitudinal data.
Yes.
The point in time. So I had a discussion recently with somebody, I'm not going to, but basically once you break out the EL versus non-EL, it kind of enlightens you as to, because basically as soon as the child knows enough English, they are not considered EL anymore. So the EL numbers, that's tough to.
Yeah.
You got to look at former EL, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Thank you both.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have this crowd every week?
So, yes, we appreciate the everybody coming out this evening. So next we have our annual report on facilities by Mr. Queen, and I'm going to invite Mr. Obafemi to open.
Hello, everyone. It's that time of the year where we're asked to provide an annual facility update. And this is my first year working with Mr. Quinn. And I will say, to date, I've been very impressed with the work of our facility team. And we've decided this would be a good opportunity to showcase the hard work that Mr. Quinn and his very able, dedicated team have been doing in taking care of really large facilities. So
Come on
I've
into the
asked
front,
him,
y'all. Come on in.
I've asked Mr. Quinn to invite the team member here, because I think it's easy to get carried away and say Mr. Quinn is a one-man band. It's a very large team, a very dedicated, hardworking group that keeps our facility running every day, starting from the time the kids walk in. They make it look clean, fresh, healthy, and safe. And I think this would be an opportunity for the community to get an idea of how much work goes into keeping our facility humming. I'll pass it over to Mr. Quinn.
Thank you, sir. So as we get started here tonight, I would like to extend a thank you to Brian Zemke and his HR team. And I'm proud to say, since 2019, we are fully staffed K through 8. So awesome job, Dr. Zemke, Sarah Lau in the back. You've done a lot of hard work, and keep on coming out every first Saturday of the month, 10 to 1 o'clock. Come check out SD308 if you are looking for a job.
Is this a new initiative you started?
It is. It is. This is something that Dr. Zemke and I have been working on to get going, and we've got it polished up, and we're bringing the people in, and we want to keep that going. So thank you. All right. So we're required to provide an annual report to the Board of Education. Here you will get an oversight of what our staff does day in and day out, every day, inside and outside of the buildings.
This is amazing.
You're right.
Change. So as you're looking at those two guys up there smiling, those two young fellas, I want you to keep in mind change. Change has put us in a position to no longer work reactive. Moving forward, we've adopted a proactive approach. Our mission statement is easy. Our mission is to keep kids safe and hang on. Our mission is simple. It's to provide a safe, healthy work environment for the students, the staff, and the community. Our strategic goals are a key component to the work we do every day in these buildings, outside of these buildings. Our strategic goals in line with our mission to provide that safe and healthy place for this staff, community, and students. 562 acres, stretches over 3 counties, 65 square miles, 27 buildings, approximately 3.4 million square feet under roof, housing over 3,000 employees, 7th largest district in the state, and we manage this with 171 district employees.
And one director.
And one director. Out of those 171, we have 117 custodians, 22 building engineers, 15 techs, 8 groundskeepers, 3 district drivers with one's job is solely to deliver the interoffice mail and copy center every day.
You have members of that team here with you this evening as well, right?
Excuse me?
You have members of the team here with you as well.
I do. I have
Okay.
a band of members with me from operations, custodial, maintenance, groundskeepers. We've got them all. They're here to help make discharge. So did you know? Did you know we had over 1,000 deliveries? Over 1,000 yards of mulch spread over 1,182 mulch beds, if you think about that, concise to your house. That's huge, right? With over 2,500 bushes, 1,100 trees. And this one on a light end, last year we spent over 166 tons of salt in those 4.2 million square feet of parking lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. IQ Reports is the place and the platform that we track and keep track of our work orders and school dues as they come in. This totally speaks to the dedication and the work that these people put in and day out with the completed ticket ratio of 89%. We're averaging about 7 to 10 day turnaround from the time they're submitted until they're completed, which is phenomenal from this group. So that little portion in there is what you're looking at is open-ended tickets or waiting on parts. Very minimal work. These people are knocking it out of the park every day. We were budgeted with $7.3 million. We've expended $5.6. Most of that money comes from our local taxing body and property tax. We're getting about 37% from state, about 5% federal. Dive down to that lower pie chart, you can see what we're spending in supplies. These things are from custodial chemicals to that mulch, that 166 tons of salt, things of that nature that we need to keep this district running every day. Purchase services, those can range from anywhere from NICOR, ComEd. These are the things that we reach out onto when we don't have that extra need from our maintenance techs to buy parts and things of that nature. Our salaries with 14%, leaving us with 1.8% in capital. Wanted to share with you a timeline on what it takes to get the progress for a job from paper to shovel in the ground. We have a lot of interaction, a lot of communication, and 3 to 4 conversations with the Board of Education before any job is ever approved.
I'm very proud of
I was
this
just gonna
page.
say, I was waiting.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. We live this every day in FFC, correct?
Yeah, the finance committee, we hear it, I'm like, is this new? And then, no, we're just hearing about it more.
You're just hearing about it more, yeah. So this org chart does not convey the true dedication and the work that my people do day in and day out with this $3.4 million or 3.4 million square foot of buildings and 564 acres. It's phenomenal what these people put in and day out, their dedication. We spend time away from our families, long weekends, long nights, holidays. It's a true dedication to what this staff does day in and day out to make the district SD308 run. And I couldn't be more proud or honored and privileged to run you folks. It's been a privilege, and I'm ready to take them to the next level with SD308. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Queen.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. I just want to say again, these are my heroes. These guys in this room, they really are my heroes.
Don't leave because we want a
Because
picture.
they do their work quietly, and they don't make any fuss. But we need them in order for us to be able to educate our children.
Right.
And a lot of time we don't see them. They don't ask for a lot, but they do a lot for us. And I tell them every opportunity I get that you are my hero, and I appreciate everything that you do every day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Queen.
And they clean up after our
You wanna get a
students as
picture?
well, which sometimes are not the most
Right.
clean. But I just want to say 2 things. I'm incredibly, first of all, incredibly proud of this. Raphael, Bill, and Amanda, I know she's on the finance side, but she is a great partner. The 3 of you have an incredible synergy and have absolutely turned around some things that were really concerning, I think, to myself and some other board members. So kudos. I'm very, very proud of the work that's being done. And I just want to say it's something that I know that myself and other board members have been working for many, many years to bring to the forefront and to show the community that there is transparency. We just didn't have the processes and the procedures in place, and you've put them there. So thank you very much for your diligence. It shows. This is incredibly powerful, and we know there's a whole team behind all of you, and we're incredibly grateful. They really are the backbone of our school system. So thank you.
Thank you.
And it's not lost on me that when everyone else is at home because there's a snow day or one of those other days, you guys are here.
We're here. We're here
You're
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. You're here.
Till
And
that
so,
snow's gone. We
Right.
are.
So we're enjoying something because of you all and your work that you're doing behind the scenes. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm sure Mr. Queen there might be more questions. I'm wondering if we can just get a quick picture of you with your team who joined you this evening.
Absolutely.
I think that seems important, so please.
Wherever they.
Oh, wow.
Raphael, get in there.
And the amazing Don Sino joining that group.
There's not enough room for us. They should. Are they going to come up here? Oh, they're going to go there. Okay.
Can you switch to the first slide?
Switch to the first slide. So we'll.
Yep, I'm going Teresa.
There you go.
Teresa, I think Latanya wants to do the board too after. I think Latanya, you're on with the board after, right?
Yeah, we'll do one with the board after.
Raphael, you look proud. I like it.
Okay.
Stay there, stay there.
Wait, one more. Don't move.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Queen?
Any more questions? Jared, anything?
No.
No?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Strategic roadmap.
So this evening you're going to hear really, I would say, a lot about the bedrock, the beginning bedrock of this work that's been happening. How does all of this come together? And really, the board's direction is really at the foundation of the shifts you're seeing, even the presentations and the way in which we are looking to shift both the substantive, but also the framework for which we approach things. So I've invited Dr. Kincaid to speak on behalf of really the cabinet and the work that's been happening across the system to start to think about how we are moving and changing things, and really what we're calling our strategic roadmap to really a next phase of a strategic plan. So, Dr. Kincaid.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. So what I'd really like to talk about is beginning our road forward. So as Dr. Calgatti mentioned, we're really establishing that strategic roadmap, focused on our mission and vision of empowering, supporting, and motivating all of our students through the foundation of our 6 core values of integrity, collaboration, humanization, dignity, empathy, and courtesy. We really took a look at the feedback of through our surveys with our community, our parents, our staff, our students, through our superintendent advisory group, our superintendent student advisory council, our teachers, staff, union, admin, both our building and our district, our collaborative partners that were mentioned this evening around dual language, our partnership with Anscombe and Bogans. So with these various groups, we're going to continue to seek engagement as we prepare the system for a strategic plan. We want to take the next couple months to really focus on coherence, community, and building trust, really paving that road forward. So through the work thus far, and based on the feedback, what we have come to is 8 main priority areas. Through this establishment of the priority areas, we're going to take some time tonight to focus on priority area 1. We will come back at our next full board meeting on the 18th with a much stronger comprehensive group from all of these areas. So tonight, our focal point is the organizational health and systems coherence, as Dr. Kelgati mentioned, is really the foundation to our pathway forward.
We are seeking part of this board, and if you go back to that for a second, is an opportunity to hear this evening some of the structure by which we're thinking about these priorities, and really to get your feedback either both this evening but in the days to come as you reflect back on this around our priorities.
So right now, what we have looked at in terms of our strategic roadmap is the building blocks of establishing a goal. So really looking at the why through our rationale of improvement around each of our 8 priority levels. Then focusing on the what, so what success indicators and strategies align to those goals of the priority areas. How are we going to accomplish that? So what is our action plan? And then when, our specific timelines and objectives. So our first goal for our organizational health and systems coherence really focuses on the foundation, building partnerships, networks of collaboration for all levels, our district, our school, and our grade or course team levels. In terms of the rationale, we really, this is the why behind why we think that this is important. First of all, the impact of our collaborative partnership impacts our student achievement, our teachers' efficacy, and most importantly, our school culture and climate. It's imperative, as we've seen and we've heard, that there is strong alignment with our district leadership for a common vision. We want strong communication of that vision and leadership. Along with that, alignment of our district procedures, our policies, our practices. So taking a deep dive into how our priorities impact not only our district level, but also our schools. And then most importantly, and we've talked about this in the past, is really building out those robust data systems. So how are we using data input and feedback to drive continuous improvement? So for our organizational health and systems coherence, we really want to ensure that our success indicators focus on communication, deliverables, clarity, coherence, collaboration, through the use of student data and our climate survey. So we want both the academic, social emotional, mental health, and well-being of our students and our staff. Through our strategies, we want a strong focus on collaborative partnerships. As Faith mentioned earlier this evening, as we transition into next year, we have the opportunity to really focus on teacher collaboration time. We're focusing on strong union partnerships, the training and support of both our building and district administration and teams. Reestablishing that robust information systems. We're looking at and will be coming in the next few weeks with an aligned staffing plan at both the district and district and school level. And then, as we heard at our last meeting and tonight, some very strategic goals in the area of special education and multilingual, our English learners. So through this priority area, we have some defined action steps with timelines. So in terms of the next few months, so the remainder of the year, for this priority level, we're focusing on a redesigned organizational chart at the district level. We're finalizing all 8 of our district priorities, including the areas that we've looked at tonight. we're diving into developing those meeting structures. So how are we providing concrete and effective collaborative structures, again, both at the district and school levels, working with our schools and our district department. We will have a comprehensive staffing plan for the 24-25 school year. We are starting work through Anns Cummins Bogans with OEA on a special education study committee, and then we are assessing our support structures for our principals. So that's our foundational work around this priority for the remainder of the year. As I mentioned, on March 18th for our next meeting, we will be bringing the focus of our strategic roadmap, so our goals, rationale for improvement, success indicators, strategies, action plan, and timelines for all remaining 7 priority areas. So at this time, as Dr. Calgatti mentioned, we're really looking for some feedback. You know, what would you like some additional information? Are there any questions about kind of the pathway forward?
I have one question about the timeline piece, just about how you're organizing it. I see, for example, today that you presented through May.
Mm-hmm.
When do you have like a next year plan, or when
Yes.
is that? Like, what is the cycle
Yep.
for like developing the next
Yep,
stage of that?
the entire cycle for what we're considering the roadmap is in essence the next 18 months. So
Okay.
our goal is to be on a path to have a strategic plan for the start of the 25-26 school year.
That would go through the school year.
Would
start now, go through the school
So
year.
this will start now and go throughout the next school year. So by the end of the 24-25 school year, we would have
Okay.
a robust strategic plan. So we really wanted to take the time to establish not only the foundation, but to seek feedback from not only our students, our staff, but our community. As many of you know, there's work already being done through our Superintendent's Advisory Group on our Portrait of a Learner, which we will extend to our Portrait of staff member.
Building system.
Yes. So we're really taking the time to do comprehensive and collective efficacy, not only on what's important to our system, but then communication throughout our system. So, you know, as everybody uses a phrase, go slow to go fast, we have to establish clear systems, communication, expectations. So we really, we don't want the work to stop. So that's why we're using this transition time kind of as our roadmap, which we will have some very clear actions and deliverables so we can monitor progress throughout building just a strong comprehensive plan by the end of next year.
I think it's even fair to say that when the board met with Dr. Calgatti, he had even very aggressive plans, and we even said, okay, let's just go a little bit slower, just because we want him to be able to have a full year under his leadership here, because every day is a new learning experience.
Thank you.
So we want to get this right, and I think we're still also coming out of that COVID fog and seeing where that has taken our students and our staff, and I think that will be very helpful too, to be able to incorporate all of that into what that plan looks like in the future.
Is there any rationale or any explanation of how the priorities are listed?
Yep, actually, we had some conversation about that, where priority 1 was really establishing our foundation. Then we were moving into systems around our students and our schools, and then our organization, including our staff and community. So we really kind of did a bottom up to be comprehensive from the student to the staff to our community level. But at our next meeting, we will have information related to 2 through 8. So we'll bring that all at one time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Got one more.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kincaid. I'm sure there'll be continued comments, but I want to just thank the teams who've been working very diligently on this. It really takes a certain level of foresight and also patience as we go through this process. Last but surely not least in our presentations this evening, I want to invite our Director of Planning and Development, Anna Marie Candelario, and Dr. Zwemke, who's going to introduce the rest of the team and take us into SD308 Next Gen.
Well, good evening, Board. I'm just so proud to have the privilege to serve in this role as the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. With Anna Marie Candelario is also Reagan Songrath, who's currently serving as Assistant Principal at Southbury and has been wonderful helping us with our mentoring and induction program. And then we also have our recruitment and our recruitment specialist, Sarah Law. Mr. Queen gave a wonderful statistic today regarding 100% staffing. That ultimately is the brainchild of Sarah from her recruiting specialist role. All kudos to her for the vision to put together that 10-to-1 every second Saturday of the month. Sarah and I get to spend time together with not only Bill Queen but also Mike DiArmond and other folks throughout the district, as we are committed to 100% staffing in all key areas. But kudos to you, Sarah. I want to thank the board. I want to thank our entire HR team and our cabinet for their support of human resources in our district. Ultimately, the biggest thing that we do is really threefold. We really focus in on recruiting, retaining, and rewarding. That is our motto. That's what we live by on a daily basis. So I'm going to walk through a little bit here, kind of the history of recruitment in the district. We recognize that it's important to have some traditional methods, some career fairs. Today, Sarah and I had the privilege of being at Northern Illinois University, doing things like summer open interviews, having an opportunity for our district in that traditional sense to engage with candidates. But then we want to be innovative. We want to recruit on digital platforms. We want to implement targeted outreach groups. We want to focus in on a diverse group to hire. So as we talk together here, there'll be a few things that we go through. Obviously, it is not a surprise to anybody in the district. We have challenges as a national teacher shortage, special education, bilingual, ESL. Renee and Faith spoke to that earlier today, early childhood teacher assistants. I'm proud to state today that we had an opportunity to meet several EC candidates, and we were so excited today to meet them that we had chocolate. But we certainly said to them, hey, come on over here. Let's talk a little bit about Oswego. And we have such a great principal in Dr. Jennifer Groves that I sent her a text and I said, hey, I want you to talk to some people today. So she gets on the phone, talks to 5 folks today. We're setting up some meet and greets before positions, are quote unquote officially posted. We always are very aggressive with our marketing and meeting folks. So that was a lot of fun today. I'm sure Sarah was like, all right, Brian, that's enough. But today, we also focus in kind of on a resolution. We're delving deeper into recruiting strategies. We're looking at residency programs that I'm very proud of, that Anne Marie has been focused on. We're building close relationships. We have a wonderful partnership with Aurora University. We have a new partnership with the teacher residency program, and we're very excited. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who can walk us through a little bit of a change in recruitment style, and I'll give it to you if the microphone is turned on.
Let's see, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. Well, hello, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Sarah. I'm the recruiting specialist here in the district. My goal here today is to show you our recruitment efforts for 2024 and how they might have changed from when you are last aware of them. So we are seeing an upward trend in our open certified positions, And we are seeing a projection of over 100 of these open positions by 2026. So that calls in for a lot of recruitment. In the span of just 7 months, we have welcomed 80 new teachers, averaging over 35 new applicants weekly. So this suggests a healthy interest in our opportunities here within our district. Our focus is two-pronged.
I feel like you have to say that again, Sarah. That was just such, repeat that last part.
My pleasure. So in just a span of 7 months, we have welcomed 80 new teachers, averaging over 35 new applicants weekly. So that is a healthy interest in our employment opportunities within the district here. Our focus for recruitment is two-pronged. So I am focusing on our external recruitment drive, connecting with the community and our academic partners to bring in that fresh and diverse talent. And then Anna Marie Candelario over here is bolstering our internal recruitment. So she is working on nurturing our current team and student teachers through professional development opportunities, which you'll hear a little bit later on in this presentation. So together, these efforts are really ensuring that we continue to be a district of choice for all educators at all stages in their careers.
District of choice.
All right, so this slide reflects our multifaceted approach to external recruitment. We're tapping into our recruiting platforms like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, and specialized sites to expand our talent pool and really bring exposure to the 308 name. In addition, we are bringing creativity into our engagement strategies with unique events like Parapalooza and Touchdown to Employment, aiming to attract our rich variety of new candidates. In addition, we're also harnessing our power of social media using platforms like Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn to boost our recruitment reach and really highlight our current staff. So hopefully you are already giving us a follow and a couple likes and shares. We are also active in our local and organizational events, including university career fairs and IASPA events, to forge those direct connections with our potential new hires. In fact, Brian mentioned already that we had a successful trip to NIU this morning. We met just about 19 candidates in under 3 hours. Wonderful people that we met. Hopefully we'll be bringing them in shortly in no time. And lastly, we are committed to our efficient communication and streamlined onboarding processes. This will enhance the overall hiring and onboarding experience for our new hires.
Thank you. Can we hear me? Okay. Are you ready for this? On your mark.
Ready
No, just
for
kidding.
this?
I am Anna Marie Candelario. I'm the Director of Planning and Development, and I have had the privilege to get to know so many people in Oswego, including hearing staff stories, the reasoning on wanting to be an educator or leader, and just getting to know a little bit about the foundation of Oswego. And that has been really, truly about community and loyalty. And I think by building on this, we're going to build an amazing residency program. So just to start you off with a little quote, today's challenges will not be solved with yesterday's thinking. And so I would like to share our equity story with you with some data from our district and also some data that I was able to gain from the IASPA conference we attended. And I will read each one of them because I would like you to just sit with it and to see the implications of why a residency program is so important. So our EL population has doubled over the past 5 years, as you heard today. Our bilingual educators have left us. They have decreased 6% since 2020. Currently, we have 17 vacant special education and 4 dual language positions. Since 2020, we have doubled in open positions. And lastly, we have only 121 teachers of color compared to almost 8,500 students of color.
Not okay.
Okay. Through a MetLife study, only 12% of teachers are satisfied with their jobs, 26% decrease since 2012. Through retention, although it's been steady, the MetLife survey data did indicate that school climate has significantly worsened. 1 out of 5 staff have a mental health concern. A school building encompasses all generations from baby boomers to Gen Z. And we need to creatively address issue-related ongoing change to our work-life balance and admin support to maintain employee satisfaction and to prevent turnover. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do this through the Next Generation Residency Program. So by two-prong approach, we are going to grow our own and we are going to support our own. Our first residency program is our Bachelor's in Special Education. starting in the fall of 2024. We will have teacher assistants or substitutes with an Associates of Arts gain their bachelor's in special education. We will have our special education teachers by the end, 18 special education teachers by the end of 2026. We also have our master's in elementary ed with an EL and LBS 1 endorsement. Not that many districts are going through this aggressive approach, but we know these are the needs of our district, and so we are pursuing the best. Therefore, starting this May in 2024, our teacher assistants and substitutes and career changers with a bachelor's are going to work their way through the residency program. The first year, they will be a co-teacher of record, provide an intensive support. By the second year of 2025-2026, we will have 20 teachers of record within our classrooms. Lastly, we have our alternative principal program, which is a new type of principal endorsement program. This is a year-long program through Aurora University. Starting in May of 2024, we will have 20 educators holding a master's degree to add on a principal endorsement. To support our own, we have a couple of really neat academies. We started our first academy this year with the support and help of our directors and TOSAs with the Aspiring Teachers Academy. This is a supportive program to teach overall skills for our aspiring and current student teachers through workshops, feedback sessions, peer groups, and different guest speakers. They will engage in this immersive learning experience. So far, our exit tickets from our student teachers have provided 100% positive feedback, and they are glad that they have joined the Aspiring Teachers Academy. Next, we have our Aspiring Leaders Academy. This project and group is develop and enhance our leadership skills. We know our leaders are facing many challenges, and a huge part of leadership, as we all know, is building our leadership identity. So through workshops, feedback sessions, also peer advisory groups, and guest speakers, we are going to put them through a year-long, engaging, immersive leadership experience. And then lastly, Reagan will be talking about our Next Gen Mentoring Collective. This mentoring program is a 4-year mentoring program that aims a dynamic network to focus on empowering our next generation of SD308 staff through mentorship and support. We have built some really solid external partnerships. I'll focus once on Aurora University. This is our core education preparation partner. They are supporting our master's in elementary ed and also our alternative principal endorsement. What's great about Aurora University is that it's community-centered. We have the individuals that I've been working with at the dean and administrative level are parents of the community. They have students in our schools, and they understand the need for the community and for our staff. Also, just beyond collaborative, they are helping us align our coursework with our needs, and they're also serving as a liaison between partnerships and school districts and connecting us with other school districts that may need to partner because of the lack of involvement with other teachers, so we're partnering with them as well. Additionally, we are working with the National Center for Teacher Residency. This residency program will put us in a large network of well-known residency programs nationwide. We will get our name out there. People will know who Oswego Next Gen Residency is. So with the help and support of this consultative program, they're helping us plan and guide our residency program. They're supporting us through supporting our design team. They are helping us design our mentoring and our milestones with metrics and outcomes, providing resource tools and strategies to build our residency program, and lastly, to help us become a registered apprentice program. So funding supports, the big $1 million question, literally, just kidding. So with the Bachelor's in Special Education, really working with the Teacher Vacancy Grant has been amazing. We had the opportunity to speak to one of our senators just a few weeks ago, and it was just great to share the work, because at the state level, they don't actually know where the money is going, and they were like, we would love to speak to you and share, like, what are you exactly doing with the funds? We're like, we got this. Are you gonna give us more? So with that, we are hoping to have enough funds between our Teacher Vacancy Grant, or IDA grant, and Title I/II funding so the district can cover 100% of the Bachelor's in Special Education. For the Master's in Elementary Ed, with the EL and LBS 1 endorsement, with the same grants, we're hoping that we can request 50% of the program covered costs. And lastly, because everyone's just knocking the door to be a leader in the nation, the Teacher Vacancy Grant will be covering 100% of the alternative principal program.
I think this would be a good opportunity here. I'm not sure if everybody in the group knows, but this is, we're in this position because of the foresight and vision of Dr. Kincaid in securing this grant for a teacher residency program at $400,000. So the fact that we're sitting here talking about this is because of that sort of vision. So I want to make sure that kudos goes to Dr. Kincaid as well.
And I just want to share something. I want to share something too. It looks good for us to be able to get funding from the state for next year. In the governor's budget appropriation, the governor's requesting $45 million for a teacher residency program grant. So we hope to be able to tap into some of that money.
We're going to get $45 million?
No, state of Illinois.
But if you have a rich friend out there who's willing, please let us know. Call me.
And if he's single, call me.
Thank you. Thank you. In the regards to funding the supportive programs, the Support Our Own, the Aspiring Teachers and Leaders Academy, and mentoring will all be supported under the Teacher Vacancy Grant. With the Academy, we are providing 30 professional development hours and a $500 stipend for our aspiring teachers. For our aspiring leaders, we're providing over 30 professional development hours with a $1,000 stipend and a certificate of completion. And then currently, which Reagan will about to speak to, is our Next Gen Mentoring Collective. We are working with the committee and discussing different leveled stipends to align with the level of support that we will have for our future mentoring program. So some really huge partners I want to highlight. The TOSA team has been incredibly supportive with, I call it just getting on the fast track train to residency, and they have been leading the work with the Aspiring Teachers Academy with our student teachers. And if you are on social media, you could see all of the amazing work that they have done to really build up our student teachers. We had over 25 student teachers together district-wide for our spring cohort, and they have just first time ever having student teachers all in one room to have a collective support and collective just conversation and discussion with them. So that was just wonderful. We have been working with OEA. We have created a mentoring committee. We're working to build this program, like I mentioned, for 4 years. And build inclusive layers of support all the way from building level to individualized support, which includes specific specialized professional development, on-site coaching, and affinity groups. And lastly, DAC leadership, which has been a huge part with working through them to figure out what their needs have been, and then also to see what their strategies are and to align that with what HR is doing. And so we have been able to identify solutions and improvement strategies to ensure that we are covering our most needs that we have noticed through the data dive.
Okay, so my name's Reagan Sangrath, and I am currently serving our district as the interim AP over at Southbury. So I just want to share a quick stat with you from the National Center of Teacher Residency. It costs the district approximately $17,000 for every teacher that we turn over. So when we think about the recruiting of our high quality educators, we want them here in SD308 to have a sense of belonging and feel supported so that they stay and want to invest the time and energy in our district and our kids. So that's something I wanted to share before we could share out our Next Gen Mentoring Collective. So in the past, we have had, we're going to kind of go through like what we've seen in the past and what we've done. And we know that we've had some great mentoring systems in the past, but always moving forward and being evolutionary with what we can do in the future. So I do want to recognize too, we have some of our OEA members that are helping with some of this collective, Next Gen collective mentoring in the back. So I also wanted to say, so for the past, we have really focused on our teachers, our certified teachers. Now in the future, we want to look at supporting everyone. We want to look at supporting our support staff. We want to look at supporting our related service members in that mentoring capacity. So that is what we would look at for that growth, right? We want to be able to support everyone. Then when it comes to our past, we've been dependent on our upper leadership. And when I say that, we've had a lot of change in our leadership. with the change comes the change in ideas and what the system looks like. So we want to build the system more around areas of focus. So when we build our structure, we're looking at that emotional focus, people-centered, supports for a focus of identity, like who are we? Who are we as SD308 teachers and educators? And then we also want to look at our physical focus. So therefore, like what do we need to set up a classroom management, looking at individual building protocols. What do our staff members need to do their day-to-day? Institutional focus. What are our specifics, our systems of 308? What do we need to know about 308? And then an instructional focus, knowing that that needs to be differentiated. We know that our kinetic wellness teachers need something different than our gen ed teachers, need something different than our social workers, our DL, our EL teachers. Then looking at the last point there, the traditional, in the past that we've looked at a uniform, kind of one size fits all for professional development and onboarding. When we move forward, we want to think about how can we consider our incoming teachers' experience levels. We have teachers coming in with 1 year of experience right out of school with great best practices. We have teachers that have been in the field for 10 years and they need a different level of professional development. So keeping that in mind. We want to look at job-embedded coaching, opportunities to observe our skilled staff that we have in this district. We have so many skilled educators. Give them the opportunity to go see our staff in action. And then really being intentional with our workshops and our professional development, targeting it around those focus areas.
And then what do we have upcoming? Because we can't do this all at once, although I would love to. So we are working currently on a college and career educational pathway to get our high school students to become educators. So we are currently working, I've been working closely with Dan Artson, Wabanzi Community College, NIU, to start designing an educational roadmap for our high school students and connecting that to coursework so they don't have to feel the tension between, do I want to be an EC teacher or do I want to be an elementary teacher? So we're working on streamlining that process, but we know that there are specific timelines that we need to follow. So we're really looking at over a 2-year roadmap to really design that. We are also currently working with Dr. Waller and then Dr. Paul to design a portrait of an SD308 candidate. And when I mean candidate, I mean educator or leader. And so really digging into what students say and what students want. And so by doing that and highlighting the student input, we're going to build a comprehensive profile with highlighting the qualities and skills designed in these individuals, with also designed questions for when we interview our candidates in the future, so that we have a streamlined process across buildings. We are also expanding our partnerships. We are focusing on the community and recent graduates and getting their feedback. We're reaching out to a wealth of organizations and meeting individuals to come into our community, get to know us a little bit, and really buy into what we already see and welcome that and hopefully support us as well on this new journey. And then lastly, the grant opportunities. Part of my position really is to seek those funding opportunities to enhance educator training and development programs. As Dr. Kincaid is a really awesome mentor, so I'm learning a lot about grants and individual details, and that's going to go a long way because we want this sustainable, this model, and we want to continue it with multiple cohorts. And so I just wanted to say, coming in March, we'll have a little more info on the SD308 educator and leader. And then I know Dr. Zemke shared a moment of gratitude, but I also want to share a moment of gratitude. And I've told my story multiple times to individuals, but I was there with burnout and as a leader, and I've heard many stories in Oswego of single moms, of individuals who came from different countries, who were engineers and came here and now are TAs and they want to be an educator. And so understanding, I've talked to teachers who don't know if they want to get into leadership because they've been through the ringer through the pandemic. And so we all have been in it, but just the gratitude of creating this program and to build partnerships has been amazing, and it's truly a rewarding experience, although Dr. Semke says I have the fun job. I really do. So thank you. And it's just been a really great experience so far. So thank you. And thanks for hearing us.
Awesome. Thank you. So I have a statement and a question. First statement is really to Dr. Kilgotti and the entire team. These last two meetings and all of the presentations today, just the way my brain works, it connects the dots based on what's being asked, the strategy, and then what's being presented. Is it actually going to help us to get to the solution? And the plumb line that I've seen the last 2 weeks has been extraordinary. And so even today, everything that has been presented, I just thank you all, cabinet and everyone, for all of the hard work that you all are putting in. So thank you for that. So slide number 9, it's just one quick question, just in regards to the Masters in Elementary Ed and EL LBSI endorsement program. It says that we're covering 50%. I'm just wondering what that other 50% is. And exactly, I figured. So then the other, I'm just, but I wouldn't know the cost of that. But then to the other question, is it's exciting to hear that we're now going to cover, that we're getting to the point of recruiting and we're covering staffing at 100%. But have we really thought about the incremental cost that once we do reach that 100%, the projected cost to being at 100%, and how, given our budget, how we're able to cover that?
We haven't been there in so long.
We have not been there in so long.
Are we budgeted as if we're going to be lower staffed, or are we budgeted as if we're going to be 100% staffed?
That's the question.
That's kind of.
I have a friend in finance for that question.
We're all looking.
Because if we're budgeted for 100%, then we're good. Yeah. We've seen those numbers.
I mean, for next year?
Well, it's
because this is a 2-year cycle.
Yeah, and
very minimal. Well, I think that in general, the trend is we want to improve service for our students, right?
Yes, and my point is that if we're budgeted just for the 100% and growth continues to happen at the rate that we're seeing, then immediately we're under budgeted. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're covered.
We will take that into consideration as we do.
You stumped him.
It's a great question.
I also wanted to say, like,
Very diplomatic answer.
yeah,
Well, very.
You'll have that reallocation of the 17,000 that the NCTR says you lose, every time you have to onboard a new teacher. And I think in a couple of years where we see, some teachers retiring, we'll have a different landscape of what those salaries could be. So to add to the diplomatic answer, I just want to say, this is really impressive. Kudos to the whole team. A lot of people in the room, or some people in the room, know that I work on residency programs during my day job. And so I work with districts that are doing this. And I had some questions and stuff, but I just really want to, instead of going to my questions, I just want to reflect along, just out loud with you for a little bit. When a group of us were campaigning in this last election cycle, not even a little over a year ago, I guess, we were sitting on people's couches in the community and talking about how we need a local teacher pipeline. And then I know that you were brought on board, Ms. Candelario, and after the school year started. And just based on my experience, to see all of this kind of already in place, top notch. I've never seen nationwide with the programs that I work with so much in place in such a quick time. Yes. So thank you for that.
Tell that to my boss.
No, to the whole team, because I do know that it takes a whole team and those partnerships. And so very well done. And I think this is going to have really great impact on our district. Oh, yeah. Teachers are the #1, impact on our students.
Yes.
They spend the most time with them. And so this is a true investment in that, and that is what I'm most proud of. The other thing I'll say is that we have talked about, like, this would be something, that could put SD308 on the map, right? In one of your small bullet points under NCTR for the National Center on Teacher Residencies, they talk about apprenticeship programs. That is going to be a thing nationwide, and I don't think that there is one currently, except maybe in CPS there might be something similar, but that will give us more funds because you'll be able to access those workforce dollars at the federal level. And so that's a sustainability piece that I'm looking forward to hearing more about too. And I'll just finish my reflections with saying what you said at the beginning about, I don't know exactly what the quote was, but using old tools to do the work. That's
Today's
true
challenges
here.
will not resolve yesterday's thinking.
All right, thank you. That was much better than my toolbox. That's true for this, but I think that's true for a lot of things in education. So I'm proud that we're rethinking things. I just want to say job well done. I'll end with that. So thank you.
So, one of the things that we are proud of and that we say a lot is that we are the largest employer in Kendall County, right? But to whom much is given, much is required. And we can't just say that and then not follow through with all that entails and the responsibility of that. And so when you say things like put us on the map, or we want to be that district where people want to be, where they want to come and where they want to stay. And so these types of efforts are going to make that possible for us. And so thank you, Brian, for your leadership. Thank you all. I mean, I just put down, like in my notes, impressive, like capable and talented individuals you all are. And so I appreciate the work. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I think on slide, you either said it or it's on slide 12, something, there's more you're going to get us the details of kind of, okay, and then we'll probably see this in the HR manuals and all that as well, I'm sure. One of my questions that kind of, you'll probably give me those details later, but I'm interested in the programs that generally require teachers to take time off. Are these, this work with the Aurora University and stuff like that, or is this going to be a little, less intrusive on their lives, where they'll be able to work and, yeah.
So our specific residency programs are going to be either one course a week for a few hours. They're going to be located on campus, so they don't have to go to Aurora University. We are also going to have some hybrid options. So with that, and then also they were going to go through 2 summer intensive programs. So we will be providing them professional learning around co-teaching this summer before they go into a co-teacher of record. And then the following year, we're providing a teacher intensive, and then they'll go into teacher of record by being solely part of that classroom, leading that classroom. Another layer is that because I have an educational background, I could support the mentors and mentees in that coaching level. So I will be on the ground once the mentees are, the mentors and the residents are on the ground, supporting them as well. And then they also will be automatically put into the Aspiring Teachers Academy. So they're going to have that collective support of other residents and then individuals coming in to support them as well. And so, again, we are wrapping them around and giving them that layers of support. I had one mom say, she's a single mom, that's another one that keeps arising too when I speak to individuals about being a single parent. And so she goes, I don't know what to do with my child during the summer courses. I was like, oh girl, don't worry, I'm gonna get you daycare. So that's just something to think about, is that is a barrier. And if we wanna be barrier busters, we have to figure out how to really get barrier busters. Barrier busters.
We need t-shirts.
Write that down.
We need t-shirts.
We need t-shirts, Teresa.
Love me some good swag. Yes.
They're
your
They're
busters.
your busters.
And so really that is truly what it means to wrap our individual, our educators and our leaders. And so that would be an extra layer of support on top of the coursework. So working closely with our individuals on the universities on the coursework to make sure it aligns to actually what is happening in our buildings and not so much at a theoretical level, but what do we see? And so integrating that piece. And then lastly, our student teachers that are coming in from other universities, if they come in and work for us as teacher assistants, they could student teach and get paid. So that back in the day when I had to take out loans to survive to be a student teacher, and you all know what I'm talking about, that doesn't have to be no more. Like, we can actually support, and we know we have the TA positions open, so we can kick two birds with one stone by getting TAs in there, but also supporting, and our student teachers can get paid during that time. So again, not causing a disruption in their life, which is that work-life balance.
So some non-traditional new stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry that I asked about some details, but it
okay.
just interests me. So.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a great question. No,
Yeah.
it's very relevant.
Dominic's going to be providing that daycare over the summer.
Thank you.
Oh,
since he asked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did want to go back to the other question about the 50%, because I know you asked that. So one thing that has been largely supportive is that, so certain programs don't cover, funding doesn't, like financial aid doesn't cover certain things. So for the MT, that program with the endorsements, our endorsements aren't covered by financial aid for our staffing. So what I've been sharing with the staff, that the 50%, which is around 10,000, they could, either pay out of pocket or take out financial aid. The cool thing is, and it is very cool, if that we put them in a special education position and they want to go into a high needs school in a high needs position, they could apply for something like the Teach Grant. Teach Grant, you get it for 2 times 5,000, that's 10,000. Pretty much will get their whole master's for like $750. Great. So been working working with individuals on scholarships. We have quite a few individuals that are minorities. So we have the Illinois Minority Teacher Scholarship. So working with them to do that. So although I'm not a college advisor, it's been really helpful for all the times I had to fill out financial aid, because now, knowing it through and through. But those were the barriers for individuals, is things like that. Finding scholarships, financial aid. Okay, and so helping them to support that and taking the exams. We're providing that layer. You have to take the 305 exam in order to get into the residency. We're going to provide support and coaching and tutoring around that exam. So again, breaking down all those barriers that got into way to individuals in the first place, where they didn't, teaching wasn't their first career choice. Or was, but they couldn't go into it.
Thank you. That was
I want to thank you, Anne Marie, again for your leadership with the team, and Dr. Zwemke as well. Thank you so much for your leadership. I'm sorry.
You
had
a question.
I didn't see.
No way.
Me too. No way. If you thought I was excited about ELA.
Go ahead.
Right. If I didn't have a migraine, I'd be jumping up and down. First and foremost, who runs the world? Right there. What a powerful group of women right there. And empowered women empower women. So get out there and keep doing it. I'm so impressed. I'm so proud. 80% of our budget is our people. And we had barely hanging on in a human resources team. And it took someone like Dr. Kalgati coming in to understand that we needed to put the right people in place to support our staff. So thank you very much for doing that. Also, I think you don't want to go to any more conferences and hear that you're from the Stepping Stone District.
I'll tell you that story one day.
I want to say that we have gone from an active HR recruiting strategy, or passive to an active. Thank you very, very much. To sit here and think that people are just going to come to us, that's just not how the world works anymore. So thank you for that. The teacher residence, I remember 6 years ago sitting in my office crying when I was asked to start putting one of these together in another district. Where were you? I had no idea what I was doing. This literally blows my mind. The teacher residency program for me is one avenue of the critical function of succession planning, and that we don't often in education get a chance to succession plan, but it's so critical to what we do. So thank you. Also onboarding. people think that when someone joins an organization, onboarding is like the first week. It's actually 18 months. Statistics show that supporting someone for 18 months successfully keeps them in your organization. So this is just brilliant. And then the last thing that I have to, or two things I want to say. One of the programs that I did successfully work on, and I don't know if you've touched on this yet, but with NIU, I put a waiver program in place so our student teachers that we placed, we would then get credits for the rest of our teachers to take classes at NIU. Is that something you're working on?
So funny you said that. We are partnering with NIU to look at the EL endorsements for our individuals. And one thing that we were looking at funding, because a lot of Renee's grant could support that, but we're actually using our waivers to ensure that the teachers can get that fully 100% funded.
And it's for tuition only. You have to buy your books yourself.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that.
I
Yes.
have to always remind myself of that. And then one last thing that you mentioned in there, and I just went to a very powerful webinar the other day about work-life balance. It's kind of a facade. There is no such thing as work-life balance. We're talking now about work-life harmony. And Faith actually, she and I were having a discussion many years ago about what that looks like for someone. And we have very different, like she's like, I'm gonna work on the weekends and like head into my inbox and get everything cleared out and everything. And I'm like, I'm gonna have the Sunday scaries and just wait for Monday morning and deal with all of it. We really have to get to that point where if we're really going to be an equity district, everybody's going to have different ways, and it's really that work-life harmony that we have to strive for, and it's going to look different for all of us. So I just wanted to share that with you. It was something powerful that came out of my conference the other day. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Dr. Zwemke.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Wait, I have one more thing. Anna Marie, can you share what you shared with principals regarding the ability to be a professor, an adjunct professor?
But wait, there's more. I promise I will stop. So yes, so part of the discounted tuition through Aurora University is the district taking on some responsibility. So the responsibilities we are taking on for recruitment is a four-prong approach. We are recruiting for them. We are getting the location for them. We are providing the instructors. So I will be reaching out to administrators and teachers that are interested in becoming adjunct, and they will be teaching the courses. So we will have our internal individuals.
And social, we get a lot of social workers from AU, so is social work part of this, or is that like a next maybe?
Yeah.
That's when my boss told me, slow your roll. Oh. And, you know.
A little bit.
A little bit. But trust me, I already looked into that too.
Yeah.
You know, you could be a clinical social worker and get a short-term license for school social work.
Yes.
So I always ask the question, we'll maybe just wrap with this. I always ask the question, okay, how many people do we have committed? So as of right now, what are the numbers? How many aspiring leaders do we have committed?
10 out of 20.
10 out of 20. Okay, how many staff members for the teacher residency?
So for the masters, we are 19 out of 20. And for the bachelors, we are 7 out of 18.
Wow.
All right, so we are well on our way. We are very early in this stage, but we are unapologetic about the work that we are going to do. We work with everybody. And we are really, really proud of the opportunity that we have here to really transform our district with the next generation of staff members.
I have one quick question. I'm sorry.
I wrapped it so well, I thought.
I'm sorry. I should just let it go. But do they talking about retention, when we give them supports like this and we provide some funding, they're required to stay in our district for a certain amount of time, correct?
That is correct. So for our bachelor's program, it will be 4-year commitment after the residency. For our master's, it is a 3-year commitment, and then for our leaders is a 3-year commitment.
Thank you.
No problem.
One thing I will say is that this is a fertile field. The receptivity of this community and the partnerships, the receptivity of our educators. You mentioned the TOSA team this evening quite a few times. Our educators, our administrators. This is why this magic is happening, right? So I think the energy you've brought, Dr. Zwemke, the commitment and the expertise to this role as a team as a whole, but also I want to just think that this is a collaborative effort. and really reflects the values. And when we do this together, look at how far we're going to go. So I'm just really thrilled, and I appreciate the hard work really put in tonight.
Sharon, do you have anything?
No, and anytime I'm not saying much, that's a good sign.
Did we just leave him speechless?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
So you guys, can I make a motion to move our student ambassador report up
To 7.1?
to 7.1?
Second.
So that we can get Luke out of here?
Second.
Okay. I caught Ursula off guard over there.
It's okay. Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Mr. Sharon?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood? Ms. Johnson? Aye. Mr. Ploger?
You don't even know your own name.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, go ahead, and Student Ambassador Luke.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All right. So since our last board meeting, we were able to put on our much anticipated Ascend event on Friday, February 16th. Students experienced different speakers, including Mr. Cameron Bell, Mrs. Sima Shaw, and our very own Mrs. Candelario and Mr. Gatewood. We want to thank all of you for your bravery in sharing your stories and experiences with the students. It was a success, and it wouldn't be possible without you. We also wanted to thank the rest of the SSAC, Dr. Waller and Dr. Paul, and the administration at both high schools for making this event possible. We were able to receive some great feedback from teachers and students on how the stories impacted them, as well as ways we can improve this event for the future. Moving on, our teacher survey has been very encouraging. The SSAC is deep diving into the data that we received. We have gotten a total of 307 teacher responses out of around 400 teachers that it was sent out to, teachers and staff. Between the high schools, which far surpassed our goal of around 200 responses, which was half. We began sifting through the data, and we will continue to go through the responses on Thursday. It was encouraging to see that all of the responses that we received were well thought out. The SSAC thanks all the teachers and staff for taking time to fill out the survey that we put out. We hope to use this data to better improve student-teacher relationships in the future, and we will keep you updated as we continue to look through that data. In addition, we are very excited about our public forum next Monday, March 4th, from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. This public forum is special because it will be led by myself and Isabel. We want to see as many students come out as possible to share their voices, perspectives, and opinions around our role as students and the roles of an educator and a leader. So that's the Student Ambassador report for today.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And grab some dessert in the back.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
This one, no matter where I go in the district, is somewhere doing another role on another day. I don't know. I just asked him when he sleeps.
Try and fit it in.
We get the best, don't we? All right. So I'd like to invite Dr. Calgatti to give his superintendent report.
Good evening, board. I just want to first start by really thanking our teams who prepared this evening so elegantly and with such dignity. Reminds me of the work we started earlier in the year when we brought to the board the 6 values: integrity, collaboration, humanization, dignity, empathy, and courtesy. And I feel so proud this evening as I listen to the presentations and the efforts. We are just getting started, but it's so impressive to see those values reflected in the work that we're seeing emerging this evening. Really, and that goes on, and that's really reflective of our community, and that is just so apparent in so many different ways. And this past weekend, we were thrilled. Members of our team, Dr. Harmon attended on behalf of the district. And I know many people around the board as well attended the Hometown Expo on Saturday. and what a wonderful event. I know Dan Artson also was there. Our district booth featured the SD308 Next Gen Residency Program, which you heard this evening about. Recruitment efforts were really on full effect, and we thank the Oswego Chamber of Commerce for organizing such a vast and successful event. Last week, Dr. Susanna Rivera Mills met with fifth graders. She is the president of Aurora University, the first Latina president and female president of that university, and really the first generation to attend college, and just was wonderful. Our students and our educators were so on point in terms of really bringing her in and the reflection, and I was just so honored to be a part of that community and thank the Old Post staff for their efforts to prepare our students for that experience. Our Superintendent Advisory had its third meeting, and this work has really blossomed, and I'm grateful to the steering committee under the direction of Michelle Early for really bringing together a variety of experiences where we're able to hear from parents, community members, teachers, and school leaders together at the table, engaging in reflections around our student handbook and the rights and responsibilities and our discipline practices, and to be able to reflect together about what a profile of a learner would look like. If we pursue this full on, what does that look like as we think about the next generation of creativity? And I gotta tell you, it's not in my notes here to reflect out, but I was at the Superintendent's National Conference last week in San Diego. And I gotta tell you, it was so affirming. I'm sitting here in this workshop that I attended where the school, 3 different districts, Naperville, a district in New York, and a district in California, all 3 had done transformative work. And I gotta tell you, every single one of them started with a profile of a learner, profile of a vision, and that vision helped them get creative. Everything from 1 day a week of an elective process for kindergartners, going from class to class doing creative work, versus just the traditional learning models. Blown away. Blown away. All standards aligned, of course, for those of you who are worried about that. I am too. I just want to say it's the whole package. So just really exciting, and I thank the parent that group. Last but not least, I want to thank Dr. Waller and Mr. Early, who attended on our behalf a Parent University experience in Chicago. You'll hear more about that board, but I wanted to make sure that I went on record to talk about it, where really it was an opportunity for them to go and see Parent Universities live and in action in Chicago, learn from it. Mike O'Neill, who's the executive director of the process, was there. Just to think about what does this formal experience of a partnership with parents look like as we start to build this out. We have to go beyond the informal expectations, but really build systems for making that partnership successful. And some of the comments earlier this evening reflect that. And that comes to close my more formal comments this evening. So thank you, Madam President.
Before you go, I'd just like to say thank you so much for your report. They are aligned to the goals, focused and detailed, and so we really appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam President.
So is everybody ready to do their shout-outs?
Ready.
Okay, go ahead.
So over this weekend, the Oswego Co-op Boys Swim and Dive team participated in the IHSA State Finals. So congratulations to Chase Mayer, who placed second in the 200 free and the 500 free. Ether Schrader placed 13th in the 200 individual medley, and the team of Chase, Ryan, Tanner, and Ethan took 13th place in the 400 free relay. So this season, the team set 8 new school records. So congratulations to everyone on the team.
Sorry. This weekend, 67 members of Oswego East chapter of Business Professionals of America attended the State Leadership Convention in Oak Brook. Their competitions ranged in topics of finance, healthcare, law, marketing, technology, and business. 37 students achieved medals in their respective events, some winning multiple. Of those 37, 22 students qualified for nationals in May. Congratulations to these Wolves. And I just have a few of my own board comments. Number one.
Oh, wait, can you do that? Can we do that in 7.4?
Is that separate?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Good to know.
Geared Forward Robotics hosted its Week 0 scrimmage this past weekend, and I was there. Actually, I was there. Dr. Zwemke was there. Jared was there.
I was there.
Were you? I missed you at the beginning.
Yeah.
Jen was there. There were several of us that were there in attendance to witness what was going on, and it was really awesome. Thank you to Illinois State Representative Stephanie Kifowit and Oswego Village President Ryan Kaufman for attending. The team invited other FIRST robotics teams from the area to join them during their Week 0 scrimmage. All teams now have 3 weeks until the competition begins. They're aiming toward going to Worlds in Houston. And the talent these students showcase is unbelievable, and that's probably an understatement. There are some really talented students that we have, and also the cooperation between teams. If there were issues with anything on the robots, everybody was helping out in a collaborative manner, which I thought was really very cool. So it was a great event.
We are excited that next week will be our first student-led public forum. Please join the board on Monday, March 4th, 7 to 8:30 p.m. at Plank Junior High School. Our student board ambassadors, Isabel and Luke, will lead the discussion alongside the board in developing a shared vision or portrait of a learner, an educator, and a leader. It is essential to hear from all voices. We encourage all students, parents, staff members, community members, and business leaders to attend. Fill the seats. Please come and tell us what your opinion is on these important topics.
A shout out for our journalism programs at OHS and OEHS. They took place in the SBC Conference Journalism Competition at Plainfield East High School on Saturday, the 17th. Congratulations to Oswego East for placing first and to Oswego High School for placing 6th. Both teams have qualified for the sectionals competition on Saturday, April 6th, and so good luck to those programs.
And last, congratulations to Trauber Junior High Panther Choir, who had the amazing opportunity to sing at a Chicago Steel hockey game on February 17th. They did a great job.
What a great place to be. Congratulations to all of our teams and our efforts, and I want to thank the board for joining in these shout-outs in sharing this good news. And I know we'll hear more. I look forward to hearing more from the board's public comments.
Thank you. All right, 7.3, board committee reports. So we'll have a report on our Finance and Facilities Committee. What would you like to add?
Well, the report is available in the agenda.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions?
No questions.
No questions?
No.
It's late at night, so it's there.
We covered a lot of topics.
Yes, we
They're
did.
all here.
Absolutely. Very good. Perfect. Okay, so we can move on to 7.4, board member comments. Jen, would you like to start?
I was so inspired tonight by the parents that came to speak. This is truly how the best pathway for our students is when we collaborate as a community, as parents, administrators, board. This is how it's done, so I really love seeing that energy. Last week, I was able to join the Superintendent Advisory Group. I had sent an email to Dr. Calgatti saying, Portrait of a Learner is very important to me. Is it something we're looking into? And Dr. Waller said, hold my water.
Hold my water.
And really the presentation that she shared about what we're going to go through, Portrait of a Learner, Portrait of a System, Portrait of a Leader, Portrait of an Educator, really absolutely blew my mind. And I happened to attend at our conference that we go to, a Portrait of a Learner, and so I was very excited. This is 10 times better than what I saw. And then I really encourage every parent to fill out your 5 essentials. And in honor of my 2 goddaughters who are in lacrosse, they are in Carmel, Indiana, and one of them got a full ride to UConn and is playing there her first year. I am very excited to support lacrosse, and her little sister is right behind her. And we're hoping to see the two sisters at UConn. So come on, UConn, give her a scholarship. So I've really seen what amazing things lacrosse can do. It's a great sport for all people to get involved in, and I fully support it coming to our district. And girls flag football, come on. Yes, of course.
All right, anyone else? You, Jared? Any board comments?
Yeah, actually I do have one. Sorry, real quick. Excuse me, Ward 9, Aurora, scholarships are coming up. And so if there are any Oswego East students who reside in Ward 9, make sure you contact the Career Center. And also, if you live in Ward 9 and you're a student, they are awarding some of those scholarships all the way up to junior year in college. So just keep that in mind. Thank you again to Alderman Bugg for doing this every year. It's greatly appreciated. So I just want to make sure that was mentioned tonight.
Thank you for that.
If I can just do one real quick. I just wanted to commend the bands at both OH and OE. I ate a lot of pancakes over the past couple weekends. Each of them had their own respective pancake breakfast. They were well attended. Pancakes were wonderful. And the bands that performed there, band parents, you should all be proud at both schools. Again, goes back to more talented individuals we have in this district.
Speaking of it, talented individuals.
Yes, I was pleased. Last time I shared a little bit about this past weekend joining our Black Student Association, their Black Tie event in honor of Black History Month at OHS, and really a powerful evening. I had a chance, they had a guest speaker there, Congressman Underwood was there, and really spoke to the power of voice and the importance of advocacy, and so reflected in our students. I want to thank Jakaya and Brianna, to the students who really were spearheading, and Ms. Thomas for her leadership of this event. 44 students came up and presented their, they all received honor roll, so they honored those students for receiving honor roll this year, as well as they each got to present their career choices, so from biotech fields, interests, lawyers, everything. And really to speak to tonight, we only had one person this evening want to be a teacher. But it was so affirming for me that we are planting these seeds now through the apprenticeship work and through what's to come. So I was just so proud to be a member of this community. And I kept asking students, what grade are you in? And they're like, 9th grade. I'm like, what? So just so talented. And so many parents came out. So really a heartwarming event.
Yeah, our future's in good hands, right?
They are, yes.
Okay, moving on to 8.1, the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Make a motion to approve all items under consent, including 8.1 minutes from the special closed Board of Education meeting from February 8th, 2024, minutes from the Board of Education meeting February 12th, 2024, open and closed session, and 8.2 to acknowledge the FOIA requests received by the district.
Second.
Oh, are there any questions on the consent agenda before we? Before we second first? Okay, sorry. I jumped the
Deed
gun.
is done.
Nope, you're good. Second? Okay, so now are there any questions on the consent agenda? Nope. Okay.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Clover?
Aye.
Ms. Venman?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Good evening. I want to invite Mr. Artson, Mr. Millard, and Mr. Howard to please come up. Welcome. This evening, I think, is an important progress in establishing what I would say is some systems and structures around formally how we think about adding new IHSA sports. We know that sports play an incredibly important role in our students' lives, and we want to thank you for your leadership in preparing this evening's presentation for the board and how we think about future opportunities for our students.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Calgatti. Good evening, board. As Dr. Calgatti said, my name is Dan Arnson, the Executive Director of High School. To my left here is Darren Howard, the OHS Athletic Director, and to my right, Tony Miller, the OE Athletic Director. Tonight, what we will be discussing is really why we would add any new sports to SD308. And really, the opportunities present themselves to grow our students in a lot of different ways. And we look at that, the second bullet up there really kind of hammers things home for me, is not every student may excel in something that is very much a traditional sport. So when we talk about adding new sports, some of the sports we may be talking about tonight regionally may be new to us, but of course across the nation and even across the world, not so much. But I was lucky enough growing up, I was a baseball guy through and through, played baseball through high school and into college, and coached as I started teaching, and still coach to this day in some capacity. Darren was basketball through and through, and then Tony was baseball as well. Very traditional sports, locally and then even across the nation. But as we had in public comment tonight, you see that there's opportunities for other sports to be added that would provide our students opportunities that would be great for them and great for their maturity as well. And in this and here, I've included a couple of different things from U.S. Department of Education, and then the last thing I put on there is the increasingly important role of athletics in schools. And this is an important article because really what this article displays is athletics means a lot in our schools, and probably now more than ever. And really this article goes in details that our country is divided in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, but athletics is one thing it's a uniting force. And when teams get together, they have that common bond and they share that experience. That really is more important now than ever probably in our history. So that's one of the things when we look to add sports, we're doing this for our kids and really to grow them in almost every different way. For the IHSA athletics, there's a few different ways that new sports are added. And we have here the emerging sports and activities list from the IHSA website. And then, of course, we have the IHSA State Series. Here in SD308, every sport we offer is part of the IHSA State Series. On the emerging list, and to some degree, everything that we talk about is on the emerging list at some point. What the emerging list means that these are sports and activities that some local communities have started teams or clubs, things like that, but they're not enough to the point where they would be, the IHSA says that we can crown a state champion. There are just a few teams here or there, and there is a threshold, and we can talk about that later, of when the IHSA says, you know what, now it's time to move that from an emerging sport or activity to an IHSA State Series. What we're going to talk about tonight is what we would do with IHSA State Series. And again, everything we offer here in SD308 is part of the IHSA State Series, except for boys and girls lacrosse, boys and girls water polo, and girls wrestling. And right now, currently our girls participate in the boys wrestling program. The IHSA State Series for girls wrestling started in 2022, 2023. So it's been a state series now for a couple of years. As was mentioned earlier tonight, girls flag football. The IHSA came out last week, I believe, and said that they will make a state series starting next school year for girls flag football. And we can talk about that a little bit tonight, but that will be a future conversation for us as well. What we have here is the SD308 new sport evaluation process. And I think every board member has the 3 sports that we're going to talk about tonight, has memos really indicating from start to finish, from the interest assessment all the way down through, of course, tonight would be for board approval, is how we have evaluated each of these steps and where we are right now as far as our comfort level with moving forward with some of these or proposing these to you. So interest survey is the very first one on there. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about next, is with the student interest survey. So we put together a student interest survey, and it was sent out to all 8th through 11th grade students. Obviously, 12th grade students weren't included because this is for next year. But this was conducted from December of this school year to January. And we had some very basic information. We wanted to see what school they were at, grade level, gender. And we asked one very simple question. It was, I would be interested in playing the following if they were offered an SD308. And this slide indicates boys lacrosse, boys water polo, girls wrestling, and then girls flag football. And of course, these are approved, and girls flag football will be next year, approved state series for the IHSA, and that's why we asked these specific these sports here. You'll see the responses there, 832 total responses, really showing very strong interest in a lot of different ways for athletics. What you have to recall here or remember that like a boys lacrosse team or a girls lacrosse team might have 25 people on a roster in total. So if you're looking at that and there's 117 girls say they're interested in girls lacrosse, that is way more than enough to fill a roster, right? And that's just right now on our first year who might be interested without potentially even seeing the sport played firsthand. So this is where we're at right now with the responses we've had, 832 total responses. And this slide indicates there's 644 students that actually completed the survey. Well, you might say, well, 644 and 832. That's because some students are interested in playing multiple of these sports, right? So the interest is there from our students, and it's a really great representation through 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade across the board of who might be interested in playing this. If it were really lopsided one way or the other, this might tell us something, but the reality of it is we have students across the board and really kind of a pipeline ready to play these and participate in these athletics. The first sport we're going to talk about tonight is girls wrestling. In girls wrestling, girls have been competing in the boys wrestling program here for several years. As I mentioned before, in 2022 and 2023, the IHSA first introduced this as a state series for girls. We believe as girls' numbers continue to grow as well, you'll see, quite frankly, girls wrestling explode over the next few years, even more than it is right now. As it currently stands, at OHS has 15 girls involved in wrestling, and OE has 6 girls involved in wrestling. We believe that once we are able to officially split and say, well, girls will wrestle other girls, this will be a lot more interesting for some of our athletes, because right now there's some question marks about, do I really want to do this? Do I feel comfortable doing that? Our feeder programs are also introducing girls wrestling at a younger and younger age. So that pipeline, again, is there for us. And of that survey, 61 girls in grades 8 through 11 are interested in girls wrestling. And based on this, the level of interest for this, this is where we would recommend not a co-op team, that OHS and OE would have their own separate teams because of the interest level of the sport and the nature of the sport.
And this is high school, right?
This is high school,
Okay.
Yep. This is high school. Girls wrestling, budget and resources. A lot of what we're talking about tonight, the girls have been participating in boys wrestling for several years, whoops, sorry, I didn't turn my slide. We have currently been operating the boys program. So uniforms have been purchased along the way to support that growth. Mats, space, and other equipment is already there for us. It's nothing really new we have to buy for that. The costs we're talking about here are associated with stipends for a head coach, additional uniforms, officials, workers, things like that that would be normal part of participation for sports and athletics. This is the 5-year breakdown, and I believe in the memo you guys had this as well, and a link to seeing the kind of the full spectrum of all of these notes. Up here, year 1 at 24/7, going down to year 5. Year 4, and this is just a projection. What this would include in year 4 is that if the program continued to grow, this is where we might have to split to a varsity and a JV level, right? So we're introducing a new level at this time if we continue to see consistent growth. And that's one of the things that we just don't know yet. We can predict it. We think that the sport will continue to grow. We wanted to provide you guys the numbers tonight so you can see that, what that might look like in a potential year of when that growth might happen. Now on to lacrosse. Boys and girls lacrosse. Again, we have referenced this before. I think someone here in public comment had mentioned this. It became a state-sanctioned IHSA series in 2016, 2017. It was on the emerging list years before that, and there's currently 96 boys teams and 86 girl teams throughout the state of Illinois participating in this. And many of them are co-op, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight as well. Many of these teams are co-op teams, and there's some rhyme and reason to that, and Darren and Tony can help explain that as well. But there are 5 teams currently in our conference. We belong to the SBC, or Southwest Prairie Conference. 5 teams that offer this, and many more are thinking about adding this as well because of the growth of the sport. One of the things in that interest survey, again, for students, 88 boys and 117 girls are really interested in pursuing this and taking kind of a chance at what this might look like as well. For girls lacrosse growth, we have year 1, and then of course we put an asterisk near year 2 for potential split. Again, this may be delayed to year 3, 4, 5, or it may not happen depending on what happens with the sport. But the reality of it is the sport will continue to grow, and at some point we will likely have to split. And what that would be is, of course, additional transportation costs, stipend costs, uniforms, things like that that are involved in each and every sport. And then we have the same thing for boys lacrosse. You'll notice boys lacrosse is a little bit more expensive. The reason for that is just simply equipment. Boys lacrosse and girls lacrosse are two very different games. The boys lacrosse is lots of physical contacts, helmets, shoulder pads, things like that. The girls lacrosse game is not like that whatsoever. Again, very different sports, but also two sports that are very exciting in their own right. And this, again, would be if in year 2 the boys lacrosse program continued to grow, this is what the cost would break down from year 2 on. But again, this might not happen until year 3, 4, 5. It just depends on the growth of the sport. The lacrosse addition plan. Really, we would look to add a JV co-op level for each boys and girls lacrosse beginning next school year. This will give us the opportunity to develop the program, really work with our local community to provide camps and other opportunities for kids to gain interest. You know, if you've never played lacrosse before, it's a learning curve. There's no question about it. And we have many people who are very, as mentioned here tonight, very skilled in lacrosse, but we're going to have also teams of, you might have 4 or 5 kids that are very good in the team and 4 or 5 kids that are still learning. So, and it's not abnormal whatsoever. We did this in one of my previous districts to add a JV level first and to gain that support as we go on. And then from there, we will look to build within a year or 2 to a varsity level program. But that would be what we would tend to do. Again, there's opportunities for participation on JV soccer fields at either high school right now. So the field space and practice facilities are there for us. One of the things we're looking to do as well, and I reached out to our PE programs, talking about gaining interest in the sport, is at junior high and at high school, there are units of lacrosse that we have during advanced team sports for the high school that they rotate on a kind of every other year basis just to keep things fresh. And junior high does this as well. We will look to increase those as well to a yearly basis to make sure students who aren't used to playing a club sport of lacrosse get exposed to that during the school day, because that's a lot of what our PE and kinetic wellness teachers do. It's about exposure to sports and teaching those skills. And if we think we can grab onto that and capture that, we'll have an opportunity when we even partner with club teams or anything else to gain those supports that will just add to the fire. Funding plan for girls lacrosse. This is a brand new program for us. So one of the things we're looking to do is to get this really fully off the ground in year 1 is to really harness those partnerships. And the startup cost for the district would be about $15,000 for year 1. Everything else would come in really from our support from our community, as some of what you guys have in front of you here tonight. And then year 2 and beyond, this would be looked to fully funded by the district, just as every other sport here in SD308. But getting it off the ground does take a little bit of momentum and initiative, and we have people that are willing to help and support with that, and we're going to harness that and use that and work toward really building that challenge together. And I know I haven't let Darren or Tony talk today, so thanks a lot for coming tonight, guys. They're going to answer your questions.
He's feeling
afterwards.
very safe.
This is the last slide. Take it home, guys.
Handled the mouse.
This is Tony did a great job. Darren, I tell you what, Darren, we couldn't have done this without you, Darren. You did a great job. So this is our recommendation, though, and based on what you have in your packets tonight as well. We went through a pretty extensive rubric and really a kind of a 1 through 5 scale of some feasibility through all 14 of these different areas, and we kind of rated these totally separate, and ironically all came in with the same ratings ourselves, and you guys saw that hopefully in your packets as well, basically indicating that we believe we have everything we need to move forward with these sports, and we should move forward with these sports. So based on the information we have, we believe is our recommendation to move forward with girls and boys lacrosse and girls wrestling starting next school year.
What are the seasons for these?
Yeah, good question.
There you go, Darren.
Wrestling is in the winter. Lacrosse are both in the springtime. You could have passed this at any time.
You said there were 5 other schools. I think it was for lacrosse that are in our conference that offer lacrosse. They have no problem fielding teams, do they? Or
No, and another reason for the
we're probably, are we the biggest one?
biggest in terms of, well, Plainfield, all 4 schools are co-op together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So as Dan presented, most of the teams in the state are co-op for that very reason, because initially you're not going to have the numbers. The other reason we would start at JV is because it doesn't lock us into a conference. So currently our conference, the SBC, does not have a lacrosse conference. The teams that are part of that are part of a different conference. We would not be tied to that as a JV program, so we would have the ability to travel as far and wide as we wanted to fill a schedule at the JV level before we move to a varsity situation and we're tied to a conference.
Dan, can you share a little bit more about the survey that was administered? How was it administered? Was it all of the PE classes, or how did it happen?
Yeah, well, we actually had Teresa help us with that survey, so thank you, Teresa. It was shared just through student email to make sure that they were trying to reach out. We pumped it out several times throughout the course of the month, making sure it was not just a one-time event. It wasn't during a particular class where we had students sit down and take that. It was just through an email survey.
Okay, so, but it was disseminated to every student?
Yeah.
Junior high and high school.
8, 9, 10, 11,
9, 10. Okay.
every student in the district,
Great.
yes.
And then I appreciate the fact that you're going to advance PE and the exposure for students to have lacrosse, not just every other year, but consistently, so that students get more exposure to it. One of the things I saw, I noticed on the funding plan, it looked like the Booster Club was going to chip in some funds, but then in the following year that was going to fall off. And so I'd just like to ask, like, why would that be, when I think most of our booster clubs who support athletics, they do continually support the athletics of what, the funding, so, to some extent. So it's like, what skin do they have in the game? What investment do they have in it?
Sure, I think the original investment is looking at some of the large ticket items that we'll need to fund that, goals, nets, that sort of stuff. Well, that falls off in year 2. But as you said, the Booster Club will still be there, and they're going to support in other ways. Additional equipment for kids, uniforms, all the sorts of stuff. And we have booster clubs for all programs, and so they just support in different ways for, whatever it may be. Overnight trips, because lacrosse, we may have to go on an overnight trip just to play some of the teams in the state because of their location, and so help with those types of things as
So
well.
I'd like to see that commitment be a commitment, as opposed to fully funded by the district, kind of a thing. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Can I just say, all our sports are funded by the district.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this wouldn't be anything different. The booster programs would do what other booster programs do in
Yep,
helping with
it's-
the ups and extras.
Yep.
I want to thank the team for bringing these forward. I think any extra opportunities we can offer to our students is great. And I appreciate the process around it as well, because I think that's really important too. I've seen momentum for these sports growing for a while now, both girls wrestling and lacrosse, so it's good to see that we are keeping up, per se. I had just a wondering about the survey as well. I don't know for how soon in the future we might add another sport, right? But I think there's an opportunity to even gain more respondents to that, considering how many students are in 8th to 11th grade. And the only other wondering I had is, and we won't know till people register or sign up for lacrosse, but if I'm a student and I say, oh yes, lacrosse or wrestling sounds interesting, but if I'm a softball player, am I willing to give up softball to play lacrosse? So I wonder if we have any crossover there. But I think that we'll have to wait and see what that plays out like. So that was just a wondering on my part. My other question is, that was a wondering. You can respond to that if you like. But my other question is about junior high. Is there I'm not suggesting anything, but do we have a similar process around junior high if we were ever going to think about adding sports at the junior high level?
Yeah, I think, and Darren just said it, we would follow the same process,
Okay.
right? I think that's something we have to take all those aspects into consideration,
Yeah.
because obviously with junior high sports, the growth of, and I was talking to someone earlier tonight, and of course we talk about all kinds of things with junior high sports, and IESA comes up about joining. There's all kinds of, but we would follow the exact same process because
Yeah.
we want to make sure the process is consistent from start to finish. With the same lens, right? That we're not trying to skew something.
Yeah.
So if and when a time were to come of adding a junior high sport or activity, we would need to follow the same process and make sure that. And again, we did it. And you saw that boys and girls water polo was on there. It's a state series for us.
Mhm.
But we're not recommending that tonight because when we do the rubric and follow things out, we don't meet the qualifications to where we need to be with that, right? So just like anything else, if someone were to bring something to us. We would always have to look at, let's follow the process first, and then for us at the high school level, is it an IHSA state series? That's our first marker. And girls flag football was brought up. Next year, girls flag football will be an IHSA state series. We won't move forward next year with that. We will move forward, and OHS has already in place of a club team for girls flag football. They have a ton of girls interested in playing this. So there might be something next year where we're sitting here again talking about girls flag football because that is something, and that has NFL money behind it because the NFL is very much involved with this too, that is spreading like crazy. And I've never seen that in action as far as what it looks like from the IHSA stand. I'm sure it's pretty fast-paced and fun. So
Yeah, thank you. 2 thank yous. 1, thank you for including the curriculum piece. I think that's an important piece.
Sure.
And then thank you to the parents that spoke during public forum tonight. I appreciate your involvement in the process.
How many in the SBC? How many, if 5 of them have teams, how many are total? Yeah, total teams.
There are 4 total teams that include 7 of the 12 schools.
Okay, and then we're considering lacrosse as a co-op?
Correct.
Okay, junior or JV co-op?
Correct.
To start, that's kind of like our pilot, if you will. So, Raphael, our budget is done for next year.
Not quite, not quite.
So, where does this fit into? I mean, obviously, Dominic loves to say, oh, well, it's just a few dollars, in our big budget, but do we have room for these?
Yes, yes.
We do.
So we're in what I'll call the shadow budget right now, preliminary numbers. And the way it looks right now, we're looking good. We've been reducing expenditure in certain discretionary area. So we've been meeting with departments and we've been we're doing zero-based budgeting. So we are actually asking deep questions, having folks justify the amount that they're requesting. And what that has led to so far, it's led to savings so far. The budget would not be finalized, if you will, till March. So we're still in the thick of it right now. And we actually talked about this before it was brought to the board. And based on the amount that has been requested, it is something that we can do.
Fantastic. I just want to say to LaTanya and Amy both pointed out, I talk to a lot of high schoolers. They don't read their emails because they get too many. So I just want to make sure all of our kids are getting messaged, and kids that may not normally think about lacrosse, I would love to get them. However we reach them, I don't know, maybe through Power School or whatever, but also, we didn't even ask the parents yet. Parents are going to be like, you're playing lacrosse, so I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of,
Maybe we can have a board clinic, lacrosse introduction moment at one of our turfs, invite us all out.
As long as they sign a waiver of liability.
I know Dominic's ready.
I actually still have that.
Did you hear me, Dr. K?
What'd you say?
They have to sign a waiver of liability.
Yes, of course we would make sure of that.
Oh, jeez.
and my Irish are a national
So
champ.
Jared, do you have any questions?
I got like 4.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm not kidding either. First one I have is, does the cost include transportation? So that's question number 1.
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, sir, Mr. Ploger, it does.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2 I have, knowing that, help me reconcile this. When I'm looking at these percentages and knowing that some of the schools in our conference are moving from club to participating in the state series for girls football, can you help me with why we decided to postpone that one a year?
We have a process in place, and it has to go through the process. So it doesn't become a state series until 24-25, which does not give us the opportunity to do that. So we'll start with the club next year, put it through the process, and then bring it back to the board for 25-26.
Okay. Yeah, I know one of our schools in our conference that they're jumping from the club to the state series next school year. So I was just curious about that. My third piece was, I forgot my third piece, so I'm going to go with this one. It's just a reminder. Listen, I'm all for expanding all this stuff, so I don't want this to come off the wrong way. This is good stuff. Oh, I do remember my third one, which was, are there any Title IX implications? I'm going to assume no, but I always want to ask. And then my last point is, I just want to remind us that when we made all those cuts years ago, we decimated middle school sports. And so I just want to remind us that as we're adding these things for high school, and I'm not saying they're not needed, that is not what I'm saying, but I also want us to have that historical piece in our mind as a unit district that we still haven't reconciled everything at our middle school level. But that's just the historical piece, and I'm sure I know the answer to the Title IX question, but I want to make sure it gets asked. No Title IX implications, correct, if we do this?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there ever, I'm sorry, this is totally off lacrosse and all this, sixth graders, did we have basketball for them at some point and we had to cut it? It's just never been it's just track and...
We don't have designated sports for 6th graders. 6th graders can be part of certain sports, and we also reach out to 6th graders if we don't have enough 7th, 8th graders to fill teams.
Question: how many teams? And I'm starting with there, but I'm also just thinking it through. So I'm thinking about the students who have never had access to lacrosse. But I'm also thinking about the students and all of the parents who are here advocating for their students, which is phenomenal. And if you have tryouts, and those kids, of course, have been playing for however many years, but now you have these new students who have never been exposed but are interested. But if you have 25 kids who are experienced, then the other kids who don't have experience don't have access to the sport. So I'm just thinking about how many teams, and then how do we ensure the kids who are interested, who have not previously had access, how will they get an opportunity to play?
In one sense, it's not a lot different than our other cut sports. We have that situation pretty much in all our sports where we have to make cuts. The growth of the sport would help to a degree. So we start out with a larger roster than you would normally. We're going to keep 25 on each of the 2 JV teams to begin with. We believe within 1 or 2 years it will grow to a JV and varsity level, which would up that number to 50 at each level.
Okay.
Obviously, this is projecting into the future, budgets, all those other pieces, but I can see within 5 to 7 years where each school has its own program with a JV and a varsity level, and then you're talking about 100. So it's naturally going to grow and take care of itself.
Okay. And there was one other question, budget. Oh, you said that we were traveling and overnight. Does that account for the $4,000 that I saw in the budget for transportation?
No, so those we were talking. I think the question was where would the booster club go that following year, and so we were talking about the potential for them to help cover some of those overage costs, especially if we do have to travel. I know one of the conference that conferences that we had looked at for lacrosse, if we get to that point, there's, I think, Washington, Dunlap, and some other Central Illinois schools are a part of a conference with some Southwest suburban schools, to where you may go down on a Friday night and play Dunlap on Friday night and Washington on Saturday down there, where you would have obviously some hotel costs that might be a part of that. So that is not necessarily in that. The 4,000 is just kind of representative of our local travel.
Got it. And would that be covered by district, or are you? I'm just trying to think of overall cost overall, because I saw like 12,000 for equipment. I get it, and some of those costs are one time, you know. But I'm just trying to figure out, especially if the district is going to have to pay, because only if it's 300 per student, 25 kids, that's $7,500 approximately. I'm just trying to figure out how else will the other 30,000 be covered annually. And I know it's through you know, the district.
Like
I get it. I 100%.
For their hotels, you know, overnight and stuff like that. Like,
the show choir pays for their own hotels.
They do.
Oh, I got it. So, yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. So when we go on some of our trips, like baseball team's going on spring trip.
Got it.
Softball are going on spring break down to Tennessee.
Oh.
So they are paying for
it.
that trip themselves.
Got it.
Through fundraising and through their activity accounts.
Got it.
Rather than the district covering the cost of that trip.
Got it.
But the district will cover obviously our trips to Plainfields and Joliet.
and you pay for the
within our
fees
conference.
for those conferences.
Correct.
I don't, Dr. Kincaid or Faith, years ago, and I wasn't on the board, we did a breakdown of sports per athlete, cost per athlete for sports. Is that something we can look into again?
Yeah, we can do
Do you
that.
remember? Did either one of you work on that?
We can do that. We can do an analysis
Okay.
that we can share with the board.
I think
yeah.
that will help to both of some of your questions and some questions I have for us to see that.
Yeah. Well, so my last question is, what is this USA Lacrosse DEI plan? What is that?
Is that their document?
Yeah, so this is important. I can speak to that. One is that I know that as part of the commitment, we received this evening a flyer here, and I want to thank Chris and your team for really putting this together. I know you took a lead on this. Really talks about the sponsors, particularly here, the USA Lacrosse DI plan is part of the national work around really promoting access and equity for lacrosse, and so that it's not really, it really becomes representative of the community and not exclusive, but really experience of diversity and inclusion. So Dan, I know that you have worked, and this has been an important part of the work you did around this, so do you want to add to that a little bit? And how, I know you received this recently, this is something as part of the development of the sport. It's important to our work.
Yeah.
I know when I met with the Kennedys last summer and they expressed interest in lacrosse, we talked about this not becoming an exclusive club, but really one that changes the landscape of lacrosse, if not for us locally, but nationally. I don't see why we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the efforts that have been seen here tonight with our public comments and Mr. Kennedy and things, really what this is about is it's a national commitment lacrosse has about embracing everyone and bringing kind of everyone into the fold and making sure that it's an inclusive sport, that when we talk about costs and things like that too, that we're being aware of those costs and how to grow it, and we talked about breaking barriers earlier tonight too. That's all part of that plan, really, is making sure that we are doing the things that we need to do to involve every student and every family, no matter what the cost might be or that might prohibit from them from being exposed to it. And that's why we wanted to talk about, you know, some of the things that we talk about with PE and everything else, of starting that early so that we understand that some people don't have those opportunities to be in club teams at 8, 9, 10 years old, and may be great lacrosse players on their own, just with some exposure to that too. And one thing I'll mention here as well is, you know, beginning this spring and into the summer, Oswego Park District is beginning ages 8 through 14, both boys and girls lacrosse, which is a huge feeder program for us too, to build that partnership with the Oswego Park District, our local club organizations and then going into high school, that's a great transition for us. When we start talking about those numbers will likely grow to the point where we're talking year 2 to year 3, going from a JV to a varsity and splitting that team for varsity and JV. So, but that DEI work, that's really just being inclusive to everyone.
And I know the flag has a DEI plan as well.
Yeah.
And then, but that is also part of what we would hope that, my hope would be that boosters would help facilitate costs for students that maybe can't afford it, because lacrosse is a very expensive sport. So, yeah, definitely something that I would hope that we'd be able to help.
Absolutely, and I think not only lacrosse, but I'll give kudos to our boosters who do that for every sport across the board, regardless. When they know there's a student who can't afford something, you'd be amazed at how much support there is for those kids, which is fantastic.
And I know Bionic will cover if a student needs wrestling shoes or whatever as well too. So, what a cool district.
Right. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you all for all your
Thank you
hard
so much.
work.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I thought you had cricket on the list tonight too, Dan. What happened to that? Well, that's not in here? I'm sorry. Wrong proposal. All right, activity bus lease. We want to welcome Mr. DeArmond to speak to the lease, and Mr. Obafemi, and also with him is Paula Reddy.
Okay.
Welcome.
This is normally an annual right. We lease a bunch of buses every year. And as I mentioned to the board, I think the last couple of board meetings, the cost of transportation is actually been very, very hard on the district. At the end of last year, I think I mentioned it, we ended the year with a deficit of $5.1 million in transportation. And to date, we're looking at a deficit of close to $3 million in transportation. So we've had to transfer money from other funds to plug that hole. So what we've been doing is we've been looking very carefully at expenditures in transportation and making sure that every dollar that we spend is absolutely necessary. We also have been looking for efficiencies where we can save money in transportation. To that end, we normally release a bunch of buses at this time of the year. It was kind of like an automatic rite of passage. So when the topic came up, once I started, we went through a different process of trying to examine, do we really need these buses, or can we do without them? So we started out with, how many buses did we start out with initially? Yeah. Now we're talking about leasing initially? 19. So initially we started out with wanting to lease 19 buses. And at the end of the day, after we looked at the need and our inventory, we were able to get that down to 8.
Oh.
Wow.
So if you look at that, we are talking about for the life of the lease, 5-year lease, we're looking at a savings of $1.2 million.
How much?
$1.2 million in 5 years. So the 8 buses that we come into the board for are the ones that we absolutely need to be able to function. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Diamond and Paula. Ms. Reedy, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. I'm Mike DeArmond. This is Paula Reedy to my right. She's the Assistant Director of Transportation. I'm the Director of Transportations for the school district. Thank you again for letting us come to present tonight. We appreciate the opportunity to present our proposal regarding the leases that are due to expire for 19 of our buses this July. After careful review, like Rafael mentioned, that we have considering the needs of our district and considering our fleet, we are proposing to replace 4 activity buses. The white activity buses, will replace 4 of those. We'll replace 2 of them with pre-owned activity buses, and then we'll replace the other 2 with brand new 2024 activity buses. Additionally, we'll be replacing 4 wheelchair buses that were 2020 model years with 2025 model years. The annual payment for these 8 buses will be $229,446.18. That's at an interest rate of 5.443%, financed by American Capital Finance.
And if I can jump in on that too, Michael, we've never shopped around for interest rate before. We bought our buses from American Midwest Bus Company, and they provide us interest rate. We just took it as an article of faith, and we just rolled with it. So for the first time this year, we actually shopped around. And American Midwest Transportation offered us an interest rate of 7.6.
6.75 originally.
6.75. And after we shopped around, we were able to get interest rate of 5.43 from American Capital. American Capital, they don't sell buses, but they finance everything. So it's not a given that because you buy a bus from somewhere, it's like buying a car from a dealership and financing it from a dealership. You can do that if they give you the best rate. So the conversation started, how much do you want to pay? And we're like, no, what is the interest rate? How much is the bus? What is the interest rate? So that's what we're able to do, and there's a substantial savings from that too, just from going to a different funding company to fund the purchase or the lease of those buses.
The initial interest rate was what?
Midwest was 6.75. Central States school bus was 6.53.
And we negotiated that down to 5.4.
No, we went to a
third party financing.
So that's a
company.
significant savings. Is that reflected in the report?
Yes.
From what was
Yes.
okay, I just want to make sure that's.
And this is a firm that I've used for leasing of other things. I've used them for computers, for buses, for different. All they do is they do financing. They don't sell anything, but they do finance.
Great. Thank you.
So as I'll continue with we spent time on this, so I know it's not 40 slides like my previous presentations, but we'll try to keep it short. So it is worth noting, like Raphael said, that we will let 11 of the minibuses that we currently lease return without replacing them. And as he said, that would save us that will save us $247,000 annually, and more than $1.2 million over the next 5 years. Additionally, we want to make sure we note that we anticipate receiving approximately 50% reimbursement from the state of the purchase price principal through the transportation claim also. Questions?
So the 8 that we're not renewing, but we're getting 8 new buses or whatever. You don't have to, if you don't have the answer, that's fine. I didn't ask this. I'm wondering what the increase was from the prior.
The increase from lease payments, you mean, or?
Yeah, the year over year on those 8 items.
Well,
I'm sure they went up, but I'm just wondering.
Since you asked, this is all for you too, Dominic. I knew these questions were coming. Minibuses. So the Collins minibuses, originally, we are currently paying $9,760 a year per bus. The wheelchair buses, with the lease that expires, we're currently paying $15,098 per year per bus. And then the activity buses, we're currently paying $8,964 per bus per year, for a total of $203,608 per bus, per year for those 19 vehicles. So just for the 8, you're talking $95,000 per year for the 8. So it's a pretty considerable increase, but it's everything
On a per unit basis.
On a per unit basis, we've seen it's more than doubled for the activity buses, and the price is also probably gone up by at least 2/3 on the wheelchair buses.
Okay.
The 11 minibuses that we're able to let go, because we have extra big buses, we can put star seats or integrated car seats into them and still use them in the same capacity as these minibuses, but then we can also use them for field trips, for other things where you might need more people on the buses. So it kind of, we don't need those minibuses anymore, and it's saving us cost on that as well.
So we feel good about the level of service.
Yes, the level of service will still be just as good, if not better, I would think.
Yeah. I think the key thing, we just want to make sure before we spend money, we do an analysis of whether we really need it, as opposed to a legacy decision. We've always done it this way, and we'll continue to do it this way.
Oh, yeah, the bottom line is, it's year over year, I mean, it's still 110,000.
Yeah.
But, yeah, what you're saying is basically if we took on another 11 of those buses,
Yeah.
it would have been 250,000.
Yep.
So,
Correct, and with what we have and the ability to modify the bigger buses, like I said, we'll be able to use them in the same capacity and more so because we can use them as two different functions. We can use them as the big bus with more passengers or with the star seats in it or the integrated seats for the little guys for the ELC routes.
all right. Thanks for having the answer.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't expecting.
Thank you so much for coming in your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Please extend our appreciation to all the drivers and your teams who are literally keeping our district moving every day. So thank you. Okay, Mr. Queen, Fox Chase roof replacement, and I think you have Charlie Johnson from
I do.
Kluber here this evening.
Yeah, Kluber's here.
Thank you for being here.
Just to give you a little bit of background, this is part of our proactive work with those roofs that we're trying to do a couple a year, right? The high school, elementary, or whether it be a junior high. This is just part of that body of work. This job is pretty rudimentary. We've done the Homestead roof, Old Post roof, had great luck with them. And at this point, I would like to recommend Adler Roofing be awarded the contract in $715,000 and $70. Any questions? This is, and just to give you a little bit of background, so we've done quite a bit of work with Adler, and these guys have been great. Bigger jobs, they've came in, the substantial completion has been right on time. They haven't dipped into the contingencies. And one thing you might notice different, and maybe crossing your brain right now, is where's that liquidated damages that we've been talking about with all these processes. This job is very common. We can get through this project in the summer, leaving us with minimal work, and if there was be anything, it would be not intrusive into the learning experience for school to start back in August. So, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, team.
Moving on to 10.1, action item, approval of mowing bid. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to award the 2024 mowing contract to Axo LLC with the option to renew for up to 2 additional one-year terms.
Second.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 10.2, approval of policies. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the following board policy, Section 5, General Personnel 5:210, 5:220, and then Section 6, Instruction 6:230, and then Section 7, Students 7:60.
Second.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 10.3.
If I can make a comment on 10.3 and 10.4, if folks have been asking question, what are we doing
The
to
comment
make sure
will come.
that?
The
Hold
comment
on.
will come after the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
After
Let's
the
make
motion.
the motion and then,
I have a comment as well.
We're all
I
tired.
have,
So action item 10.3, approval of K through 5 ELA resource. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve K-5 ELA resource for benchmark education for the total of $1,815,195.25, payable over 4 years.
Second.
All right, now,
So what I wanted to point out is some of the things that we've been doing to make sure that we stay financially prudent and conservative in the way we manage money. Initially, this payment was supposed to be made all at once. We were supposed to pay the money all at once. So we decided to approach the publisher and just ask them, front us for 4 years, no interest charge. They wanted the business, they agreed to it. So instead of us paying $1.8 million all at once, we're paying it over 4 years.
Let's go.
And what that means, we have money in the bank that we can use for other operations that will not go to the vendor. And
No,
didn't cost us
Okay, now
anything.
you're just
freeing up,
bragging.
freeing up.
Now you just
cash.
brag.
now you're just bragging.
Freeing up working cash is, I love it. Yeah, I was wondering, I was wondering, because we had so much budgeted for this year, and then when I saw the amounts that were going to be spent this year, I was thinking that maybe we were getting less product.
No, we're actually
No.
getting more product.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I have a comment too, but I'll wait.
Well,
I have one question.
yeah.
Go
on
ahead.
the
Go
side.
ahead.
I know that this was publicly available at the district office. Do we know if any of the public came to see the curriculum?
Faith and
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Harmon?
One?
We had
One
one
person?
person that came
Okay.
and reviewed and asked a comment about interventions.
Okay, thank you. I'll have that same question for the next agenda item as well.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I had the opportunity to engage with the person who came. She was more questioning some interventions, not necessarily our curriculum. So we had an opportunity to engage with each other and show her the materials, and that was the only person that came.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And
Dr. Harmon, just 1 second. Can you speak to, last time I think it's really important for the public and especially for our educators who may be watching, there was discussion around professional learning and some of the feedback from the board about integration and stuff. Can you speak a little bit about what lessons came out of the board meeting last time, just so we can go on record for that? Because I think it's really important, just the amount of incredible work done to prepare for this, for you and Shannon's in preparation for this evening.
Yes. So we have gratis days that are part of the purchase for professional development. So we're planning April 25th for all of our teachers to receive training for the materials, and then they're going to also have some asynchronous time where they'll be looking at videos and engaging in the materials already to prepare for next year. But in addition to that, we have some customized professional development that's going to happen for our pilot teachers to continue their learning because they've been on this journey already. So they don't need to know about the program. They've really engaged with it. So we'll continue their learning there, and they're really working with us on what our needs are. And so we have additional days that we'll be looking to use next year, and then we've already started some committee work. And we are asking our teachers, what else do we need? And so for the rest of this year, too, we'll be working on the curriculum. We'll be working on what additional resources do we need, what other professional development do we need, and we're working on still getting Wiley Blevins here for our teachers. So we're excited about all of those opportunities. So thank you.
Jared, you said that, thank you. You said that you wanted to wait. Why do you want to wait?
Is it for 6 through 8? Is it for junior high?
No, we're on K through 5, right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah, no, I had something for this.
The next one? Okay.
No,
No,
something for
K,
this.
no, K through 5.
Oh, go
K
ahead.
through 5.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, I definitely did hear from some voices, and listen, it was great work and everything. The vast majority of what I heard was very positive, but I do want to just emphasize that it felt like, anyways, based off the feedback I was getting, that the higher grades were more on the fence with the two products that we were reviewing as opposed to the lower grades. And so I just really want to emphasized the need for that vertical articulation and some of those communication pieces between the 5th and 6th grade levels, just to make sure that those concerns that are coming from those higher grades, primarily 5th grade teachers, are being addressed and they're being supported, and that was it.
Yes, and we absolutely are working with the 5th grade teachers. Again, we're going to beef up what resources they need, but also this is a newer resource, and so there's some errors in the 5th grade particularly. Allie Anderson was already working with our vendor. We've gotten in touch directly with them, and they're being really responsive. So that was part of it, but also, as you all heard, Michelle Simmons, she has also worked in some additional resources in that background building, and we're going to make sure that the teachers have everything that they need to be successful.
I appreciate that.
Ms. Van Meth,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo.
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone.
Aye.
Ms. Simulton.
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, action item 10.4, approval of 6 through 8 ELA resource. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve 6 through 8 ELA resource from, is it Houghton Mifflin Hardcart for the total of $777,924.83.
Second.
Second, okay. Now, do we have any questions,
My-
comments, thoughts?
I just wanted to see,
Okay.
did other people come to see this? Zero
0
people were at the office to see the public. Okay, thank you.
Get on that microphone, Ms. Lewis.
You know what? On a whole, relative to what we thought we were going to be spending on the K through 5 and the 6 through 8, did it come in substantially less than budget, not just in year one, but altogether?
Yes, partially because of our financial wizard here who went in and did some negotiating, but we also budgeted for, here's what we're going to spend so that it lasts for the next 4 years, 5 years, and now we're spreading that out over time. So you're not having this lump sum that you're spending now. We'll have increments that we're spending in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I just, I don't know, because it was 1.8 and then 8, so I just, it was a bigger number before, right? It wasn't 2.6, or wasn't it?
It was about that.
It was
it about-
the same number. It was just
Okay.
we will have to pay
There
all
were-
in one fiscal year, this year.
'Cause I remember talking about it during budgeting, probably last year, and I thought I saw it. Anyhow, okay.
Would you please remind me of the last time we had new ELA curriculum in the middle school, junior high?
2015
I think so.
Okay.
with Springboard, 2015.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jared, anything?
No.
All right.
Mr. Cerrone.
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Ms. Van Meth.
Aye.
Dr. Murillo.
Aye.
Ms. Simulton.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
I feel like we're at an award ceremony.
Yeah, I was thinking State of the Union.
Action item 10.5, action on the uniform grievance M-D. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to direct Dr. Kilgotti to gather additional information as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Do I keep going? With respect to Miguel Maya's pending grievance against Mike DeArmond.
Second.
Dr. Murillo.
Aye.
Ms. Van Meth.
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone.
Aye.
Ms. Simulton.
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 10.6, action on uniform grievance M-M. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to authorize President Simonton to prepare a written decision affirming Dr. Kilgotti's decision with respect to Miguel Maya's pending grievance against Ken Miller.
Second.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Action item 10.7, approval of building administrator contract. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the building administrator's contract as discussed and presented.
Second.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Abstain.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Six.
I'm sorry, it wasn't, okay, sorry.
6-1 abstention.
6 with 1 abstention.
Yes.
Action item 10.8, approval of district administrator contract. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve district administrator contract as discussed and presented.
Second.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Abstain.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Motion passes 6 with 1 abstention. Okay, action item 10.9, approval of personnel report. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the personnel report as discussed and presented.
Second.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.